Consequence Podcast Network.
This episode brought to you by Nick B.
Nick B.
Fun fact about Nick B.
Oh, yeah?
Last week I said something. And he's like, you're wrong. But he did say he's actually had and he has consumed whale.
What?
Whale? What kind of whale?
I did not ask what kind of
Beluga.
Baby
Beluga.
beluga in the deep blue sea. Swim so fast.
And he got ate by Nick B.
Those poor whales. Oh.
Well, Nick B, enjoy your whale feast or whatever. This episode also brought to you by Ryan.
Hey, guys.
Yeah.
I am super grateful for Ryan this week because Ryan introduced me to something fantastic. She brought me some cold brew with mocha and almond milk.
No joke. I just saw you post a picture of this on Instagram. I liked it.
Yeah. So I've got a full glass of that because I need some energy to record. Last time I drank cold brew, I seriously had a conversation in my, I say it was a conversation, but it was very one-sided because I was talking like this and I was so excited and I ended up talking about God and how I feel about religion and life and death and the universe. And she like kept backing away from me and she got her secretary in and she's like, hey, I need your help making some coffee. And I really just walked away. So thank you, Ryan. It's delicious.
That's really thoughtful of you, Ryan.
I like how it just makes you a psychopath and it turns you loose in the world. Yeah. This episode also brought to you by Matt.
Orca
Hey,
Borka.
Yes. And Matt wants us to share some Swedish facts because that's where he is from. And my Swedish fun fact is one that I greatly enjoyed this week. And it is that a Swedish man once received disability after claiming an addiction to heavy metal.
Really?
Yes. The man had attended 300 heavy metal concerts in a year, rendering him unable to work. And he got disability benefits. Like they gave it to him.
Really?
Yeah. It must be great to live in a place that has like strong social safety nets.
I know.
Oh,
it kind of makes me jealous.
so
'Cause
jealous.
I've been to 400 heavy metal concerts this year, and I still got to go to work tomorrow.
Her neck,
So what the
she
fuck?
can't even hold her
I
neck up.
know.
It's so messed up.
It just flops around, guys. Yeah.
Oh, from headbanging.
Oh, Mike, welcome to the conversation. Oh, my God. Welcome back to another episode of The Patreonicals.
Previously on the Patreonicals.
At Mammaltopia, Eddie and Isaac are doing like a parlay.
A tete-a-tete, you might say.
Isaac attached a drill arm.
I'm sorry.
Isaac attached a drill arm to Tristram,
Right.
his half cyborg Terminator person.
Right.
And he's digging under the walls to get in there and kill some people.
Yeah, I mean, people have been tunneling under walls since the birth of walls. I get it.
Exactly. And tunnels and underneath things.
Right.
And Isaac tells Eddie, he's like, look, just give up. Just give up now. We're going to kill you and everything. So you got to give it up. And Eddie was like, this was a trick.
Uh-oh.
Cut to underneath it. And a bunch of moles and gophers attack Tristram under the wall.
Thank you, Eddie.
Oh, my God.
And they like almost kill him. Like they like chew off his drill arm and like the dirt.
It's pretty brutal, man.
It is.
As
That's hardcore.
And then there's trimmers above and everything's shaking. And Eddie's like, I'm going to kill you, Isaac.
Oh,
and then
my
like
God.
all these squirrels and shit fall from the sky.
Like flying squirrels?
Yeah.
Oh,
and they
my
start
God.
mauling his people and stuff. And like bears come and attack them. And
Oh,
like it
my
was all a
God.
trap.
He lulled Isaac into a false sense of security.
He did.
They call that the dipsy doodle.
Yeah.
Do they?
The siege was a trick
know.
to gather more mammals outside on the other side of Isaac. So he's trapped, and then like Eddie's people are shooting flame bow and arrows and stuff. And like anyway, Isaac, he's got some superpowers. So he's escaping. He escapes on one of
Right,
his
he's
like,
running
war
away.
rigs.
Sure.
Yeah. And then Eddie was like,
Okay.
yeah, that's what you get.
Got force fucked.
I honestly thought this whole tete-a-tete was going to end with Eddie saying, but Isaac, we're all mammals, and we're all welcome in Mammaltopia.
Aww. That's the Hallmark version.
Cut to the submarine that's half on the water, half in the land with all the cyborgs around it.
Right.
Kate's outside fighting them. She tears off two of their arms with her mind powers and shoves the arms through their chest, and it's like going through them over and over again.
Oh, I love it.
That's awesome.
She's literally fisting them with their own fists.
With her mind. She doesn't even have to get her hands dirty.
No, it's the best. She's getting their hands dirty, Jen.
I know.
Her weakness is like when she's doing that, she can't talk out loud, so she's like, yeah, I'm fisting them with their own fist, but she can only think about it.
Right, because
She
that's what
can't
she does.
say it out loud.
Yeah.
So there's no quips. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, well, we'll work on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's just sad about it, but she's okay.
Oh.
Also, Mickey Mac and the koala have gotten the motorcycle ready. Matthew comes crawling out of the sub. He's like, holy shit, Chip and Dale are super evil in there, and they're part of the Narcs Templar. And,
Narcs Templar?
Narcs Templar.
Holy shit.
Is that the night that tells on everybody else?
Yes.
Oh my God.
He was like, the Knights Templar, they did Sunny D, man. They're the ones who did it. And so Chip and Dale come out, and they're like, you got to fucking die. You can't know the truth.
Oh, no.
Chip and Dale are very different from how I remember them in my childhood.
I know. They're not rescuing anyone.
No.
So they all get on the motorcycle and escape, but Chip and Dale get in the submarine again. They gather up some more cyborgs, and they're like, look, we've got to kill you guys. You guys know too much.
Right.
And we have a big evil plan that we can't tell you about. And in the
next
submarine,
episode.
it takes off into the sky.
I'm sorry. Into the sky? The submarine.
It's a flying submarine?
The thing that literally submarines. Sub being under, marine being water.
Underwater.
It flew into the sky.
Is it a Mary Poppins submarine?
Don't you guys remember it has giant tank treads on the bottom so it can go on land?
That does
That
not
doesn't
mean
make
it
you
can
fly.
fly.
It grew wings, and then it also had
Wow.
giant jets on them.
Okay, so what you just described is a plane, but okay.
Right.
No, but when it lands, the wings retract, and it can go underwater.
Okay, so it literally is a submarine for all seasons.
It is,
Yeah.
Cuts to Thunderdomington, where Michael is gathering people to overthrow Isaac because he thinks the war is a waste of time. He says we need to unite with Mammaltopia because there's not a lot of like people left, and the zombies suck. We gotta get shit together here.
Those zombies.
But then up in the sky, a lightning bolt goes, and you see the submarine flying in the background. It's coming to Thunderdome.
Oh my
no.
God. How many cyborgs did Kate fist? What are Chip and Dale going to do in Thunderdome? Wait, didn't Michael go to Thunderdome? Find out next week on another episode of The Patreonicals. This episode finally brought to you by Chris.
Oh,
Chris.
Yeah.
Chris just wants everyone to know that we see you and we love you and you're not alone. And shit's scary right now, but we're all in it together. And
Well, Chris, thank you so much for reminding us that we're all in this together.
That theme music will never love me. I'm rich. I wear glasses. I'm thin. That theme music will never play itself for me.
Mikey, does your neighbor know you're cheating on her?
That girl does listen to the podcast, so we can't talk about that.
welcome to the Horror Virgin, everybody. I'm Jen.
I'm Mikey.
And I'm the Horror Virgin Todd, which means I don't like scary movies, but you guys make me watch them. But this week, we have a very special guest with us,
Yay.
Chris from CinemaSins.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
We're doing great.
Thank
How are
you so
you?
much for joining us.
Doing great. You guys were on our podcast one time, a long time ago.
Well, yeah, I was under a year ago. It was your Halloween episode.
Yeah, that's right.
last
It was
year.
October, but
Yeah.
it still feels, because of all the things that have happened since then,
Yeah.
it feels like it's 5 years.
Yeah.
It feels simultaneously like it was yesterday and that it was 30,000 years ago.
Yes.
That's correct. I think that's an accurate assessment
I think so,
of what
too.
really happened. We love having you guys on the podcast because we get to do something different for a change, and and we love talking horror movies and stuff, although I'm probably the bigger horror guy out of the main three.
The movie that you guys made me watch this week was Jaws 2.
That's right.
I'm assuming you guys have seen Jaws 2 before, though, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I had not.
Had you
Really?
not?
Really?
Really?
Okay, look, Todd gave me a whole list of movies that
Yes.
we're about to do. The only one out of that list that I had not seen was Jaws 2, and that's the reason why I picked it.
Really?
Oh.
Wow. Okay, awesome. I honestly didn't think we'd be able to find a movie that you hadn't watched.
No, you found it. Like, I haven't seen any of the Jaws sequels up until now.
Really?
Wow, okay. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of franchises that came out in those 70s and 80s and everything like that where I've seen the first one.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen any of the others. The only like big franchise that I watched a ton of stuff I think I've seen every movie is Halloween. But like Friday the 13th, I've only seen 2 of those. Nightmare on Elm Street, I've only seen the first one. And like some of the later ones, but like I haven't seen any of the ones. So like, yeah. Jaws 2 is just like any of those to me. I heard it was terrible. I didn't need to see it.
Did you? Well, I guess we'll get into what we thought of it.
Oh, yeah, we'll definitely dig into it. So, Jen and Mikey, you've seen it before, right? What did you guys think about it the first time you saw it?
I saw it as a kid.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, yeah?
I did not like it as a kid. I was like, man, this is not as good. And let me tell you, that opinion holds up.
I remember watching it as a kid. I remember this and Jaws 3 being on USA all the time. And I
Yes.
probably saw Jaws 3 more, but I do remember watching this when I was little. And I remember really liking it as a kid and loving it now. Yeah, I really dig it.
Oh, you loved it today. Okay.
You
okay.
loved it?
I
That's
do,
a hot take.
yeah.
Interesting.
Okay,
All right.
look, I understand what kind of movie it is. I know it's not perfect. And it's also
Right.
being compared to one of my favorite movies of all
Jaws
time.
is amazing,
So
yeah.
it's not going to hold up. But I mean, but look, this is a shark slasher. Like, it functions the same way like the slasher movies do, which is so cool, you know? It's just, there's a lot of things I really love about it. I don't think it's perfect, but I do love it.
I feel like it misses the mark because it tries to be kind of as serious as the first one, but it's not as well done as the first one. And the rest of the Jaws sequels get a little sillier and like kind of go into like the Jaws is trying to kill Brody's family and like more slasher-esque, which I like more ridiculous sequels if they're not going to be really good, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and I do think that they nailed the not very good sequel in this sequel, but it's just not as fun, I guess, as the ones that are more funny and silly. Although I do think this one is silly because it does seem like everyone in the town has amnesia and does not remember what happened fucking last summer, and that drives me insane. It's like Brody went through like a time warp and he landed on Amity Island, and then in that time warp world, none of them experienced the first episode of Jaws.
It's just a shark to the left, Todd.
But it's more than a year ago. It was like 6 years ago.
They say 4 years.
Okay. But still, the fact that anyone's in that ocean ever is stupid to me.
Exactly.
Like, if you watched a lot of your town folk get eaten by a huge fucking shark, like on that beach, you would not go back to that beach. It
I
would
know.
take a generation for people to go back to that beach. So, like, the fact that not only does no one talk about it, but they also sort of gaslight Brody the whole movie, like, it drove me insane, so much so that I hated it. Not the movie. I didn't hate the movie. I just hate the way people treated Brody in this movie.
Yeah.
That's a thing that they were supposed to make. Amity was all the stores were boarded up and all sorts of stuff was like basically dead
Yeah.
there, and that's what they were wanting to do at one point. But you know, the brass said, "No, you don't want to do that."
Yeah, they wanted it to be more fun.
You want to make the exact same movie as the first one, just make it a little not as good.
Throw some more teenagers in there. Couple more boats.
Yeah,
You know?
that is what happened. Yeah, it's the same thing with a schooner race at the end.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I did like the helicopter scene.
of course you did, Mikey.
it's Seacopter, guys.
It is Seacopter, but
know,
Seacopter
so
gets
excited.
fucked up in this movie. But let's just get into it. Let's just talk
All
about
right.
the movie. Yeah.
So we start with underwater and music. And we've got
Yes.
scuba divers.
Yeah, let me just say this about the beginning of this movie. There's credits for the first 5 fucking minutes and 0 dialogue. I hate when movies do this. It's so bad.
Hold on, Todd. This is the most important scene of the movie because these two guys underwater,
This is the most important scene of the movie?
these are the only two guys who know that Jaws 1 happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true.
Because they get to the Orca,
Yes, they
which
do.
is the ship that we're stuck. And it was not until I was doing research on this that I realized that was the Orca. I thought it was
Wait,
just
really?
the ship. Yeah.
I literally have in my notes, oh, it's the Orca because it says on the boat, the Orca.
Yeah. You know, I don't always
Actually,
catch it.
I researched it too, and I found that I watched the movie, so I researched it and found out that it was the orca.
Really? Like with your eyes, you know?
Yeah.
That's the research you did?
See, the difference is Jen actually does what we call active research, and she like goes online and reads articles and shit. And Mikey and I are more passive research, where we just watch shit and then assume we know everything about it.
By active, do you mean real?
I mean, yes, yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, it's what remains of the orca.
The scuba divers at the beginning clearly know about the events of the first Jaws, but they don't know that the first Jaws died because they are trying to go down there and like paparazzi take pictures of Jaws.
Scuba-razzi.
And then there's the scuba-razzi.
They
gets
conjure
fucked,
the
like,
ghost
yeah,
of Jaws.
They do.
He took a picture in front of the orca with like his fingers up, like peace,
Yeah.
the peace sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the whole point of that was just to go down and take pictures around the orca, not to find Jaws.
It has to be just to find the orca. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
Jaws
Yeah.
is dead. Like, if they know the orca exists, the reason the orca is famous is because it killed Jaws, or the
Right.
people
Yeah,
on
yeah,
the orca
yeah.
killed Jaws.
Bro,
So, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I mean, they get attacked by a shark.
They do, yeah.
Well, yeah, because it's Jaws, right?
Yep.
Okay, so the first one is Jaws. What is this one called? Is this one also Jaws?
This is Jaws 2.
But you call the Jaws too?
I mean, I call
It's
them all
Jaws,
Jaws.
Too.
It's like Michael Myers. Like, he keeps coming back. See, and this is how it functions like a slasher, because there's no reason for the shark to come back because he was dead. They never say whether it's the same shark or a different shark. So I just imagine it's Jaws, and they, like, by going into the orca, they, like, enacted some kind of spell that conjured the ghost of Jaws back into physical form or
See,
something.
what you don't know is they're actually performing a scuba shaman ritual that is causing Jaws to come back to life. Yes. Honestly, after he gets burned by, I don't know, the lady monk in this movie,
Yeah.
I just started calling him Scar Jaws because
Scar Jaws?
his face is all fucked up. I also could have called him Cardboard Jaws because he looks like he's cardboard, but yeah.
I dumbly thought he always was scarred and that he was the shark from the first film. And I was like, oh, he grew back his face and it's all scarred up.
He grew back the other half of his body that exploded. Hey, but look, if Dr. Loomis can shoot Michael 6 times and he's still alive.
I mean, yeah.
I don't think they named Jaws in any iteration.
I don't think they ever call him
No.
Jaws.
I
You're
think
right.
they just called it that because, hey, that's a catchy title or whatever. So, like, the fact that, like, this is just another shark to me. It doesn't mean that they're calling this particular shark Jaws.
It gets
Yeah.
confusing.
And so what happens now, I really like, and this is when I was looking for this to become a slasher, I was looking for this a lot. So we see a lot of the shark POV shot, point of view shot, which is
Yeah.
something you see in like traditional slashers too. So I thought that was really cool too.
You see that in the first Jaws too. I mean, you get Jaws cam for sure. Yeah.
They were deciding what to do about that. They knew there was no way they could ever recreate Jaws. So they're like, fuck it. Let's just show the shark as much as possible because people, they want to come and see a shark. They know what the shark looks like, you know,
Yeah.
so let's just go
Well,
for
yeah,
it.
because the cat was out of the bag with the first one. Everyone's already seen
Exactly.
it. You know, yeah.
The shark was out of the bag.
Sorry, yeah. The shark was out of the water.
But so we see the shark POV shot and we see the scuba divers like sensing something's wrong and then they turn around and one like takes a picture in self-defense or something and then gets eaten.
I honestly think he was part of the scuba-razzi and he was trying to get an upshark photo.
not
Yep,
cool.
I agree.
Not cool,
I agree.
paparazzi.
I love how Mikey was like trying not to laugh at that one. I got you, Mikey. I got your number.
I was like, so terrible. Okay, I'll give it to
Mikey,
you.
that is 1,000% something you would say.
You're just mad I beat you to it. But anyway, so but they're dead. Like we don't ever see them die, right? But they are.
We
dead.
don't, yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah, they're dead.
They go missing. They find the abandoned boat. They do
Right.
it off screen. They just talk about it.
Right, and that's all during the credits, right?
Yep.
That's like 3.5 minutes in, and then it jumps to Chief Brody driving to what is just an indoor pool opening.
right.
It's a Holiday Inn Express.
Is it a Holiday Inn Express?
I think
Yeah.
it's a Holiday Inn. I don't know if it's a Holiday Inn
Oh,
Express.
okay.
I have some thoughts about this scene. One, how does the high school band know so many songs?
What? High school bands know a shitload of
They
songs.
sing like 7 songs and they're all perfect. Like no high school band is that good.
My high school band was that good, Mikey. I was the band president.
Are you really?
Not now. They
President
don't
of
let
the band?
38-year-old men be high school band presidents.
I loved when they were playing downtown though, and I love how you slowly hear it, you know, and then it's
Yeah.
downtown.
But of course, in my head, I was like thinking Shark Town. But when was the last time you saw a town turn out for an indoor Holiday Inn pool opening?
It's for like half-written plot lines. They don't come back. It's not important.
Hey, if I'm going to see Tina in a bikini, then I'm coming.
It was a one piece here though.
Yeah, it was a one piece. And I do think that was crazy because the mayor of the town, he makes her cut the ribbon, and she is the only one at this Holiday Inn Express in a bathing suit. So she
I
has to walk
know.
up in front of everyone who's apparently there celebrating the scholarship and not the opening of the pool. I just have to imagine that she assumed it was just for the pool opening and got there and she was like, oh shit, I didn't realize it wasn't like a pool function. So I'm wearing a swimsuit and they were like, we don't have time to have you go home and change. Just cut the ribbon in your outfit.
Todd, I feel like that's a very kind assessment of that situation. They told her to wear a bathing suit because she's a beauty queen.
I also think she didn't realize that, though. Like, I will buy
yeah.
the mayor, who does sort of creepily like, yeah, go cut it.
Yeah. Well, he says that a girl.
Oh,
at
that's
one
what it
point.
was. Yeah. I do remember thinking, gross, when that happened. Yeah.
Well, Roy Scheider, like wolf whistle.
He
Oh,
does.
that's right.
Yep.
She's like 16, 17. She's underage, right?
Yeah, probably. It is really weird.
Yeah.
Well, but so they're having this nice banquet by a pool. And I mean, that's legitimately, she could be wearing a bathing suit if it were going to become a pool party later, but it never does. So they've just built this new hotel.
Jen, any party by a pool is going to turn into a pool party if the participants get drunk enough.
Ironically, no one wears their bathing suits appropriately. Like, she'll wear it to this party, but not to go boating.
That is a very good point, Mikey.
I noticed
Yeah.
there were a lot of street clothes on those boats. And I was like, you're going to get wet. But so there's a new real estate investment person in town, and Ellen is working for him. And did you guys recognize him? The actor is Joseph Mascolo, who was Stefano on Days of Our Lives. Who's like,
No shit.
Yeah, the long-running like evil guy on Days of Our Lives.
I had a babysitter growing up who loved Days of Our Lives, so I got super into it when I was like in 6th grade.
Right, yeah, me too. I went through a phase. Yeah, and Stefano was on it then.
I would
Yeah.
like to say that Tina has the most character development in this movie.
That's an interesting take.
Tina, she has this place. She doesn't have any agency. She watches a boat blow up. Then she starts bossing around her boyfriend. Then he gets eaten in front of her. And she grows. She grows.
I think you're confusing character development with just traumatic shit happening to Tina.
True.
Yeah.
Well, that's the only development that happens to anyone in this movie. No one changes.
Although I will say that this movie is pretty much a PTSD case study for Captain Brody.
It really
or Chief
is.
Brody, I should say.
I know.
And then
I was
how
like-
everyone around him is just denying the fact that any of the events in the first Jaws happened, which
Well-
is fucking insane to me. It drives me insane.
Yep.
But I think that plays into the PSD element of it, right?
I think so too. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's interesting to see kind of how he reacts knowing what's happened in the first movie because it's basically the same situation, you know? What did you think he was going to do? He was going to overreact because he's seen this.
Jen, he doesn't overreact. He reacts. Everyone else underreacts. Is that a word?
He tries to shoot the ocean and
Okay,
that's-
we'll get there because you're making some good points, but let's get to them.
I'm going to go ahead and take the mayor's side for the first time.
Mikey, you son of a bitch.
Read the room, Mikey.
I do want to say that in this movie, Murray Hamilton, who plays the mayor, seems to be sort of relegated to a different kind of role here. And I had read up that, you know, his wife was diagnosed with cancer during the filming of this movie. And
Oh,
everything.
really?
So they were. So yeah, when I was watching this, I was like, was he sick? Because it just seemed like it kind of pushed him aside, and then they made this other guy the big villain, the big like human villain of the movie.
Yeah.
In the first movie, he has that moment where he was like, yeah, my son was on that beach. Of course I want you to go kill the shark. And so
Yeah.
it seems so strange that he's denying everything now, especially knowing his son is one of the kids that goes out boating. So it's like, why the fuck don't you care?
Because it takes place in an alternate reality where none of the events of the first Jaws happen to anyone but Captain Brody or Chief
Right.
Brody.
It's because the first 4 kills of this movie, no one sees. Like, the 2 divers go missing, the boat blows up, they find a charred body. There's no evidence of a shark except the whale that dies. Like, I wouldn't close the beach either. In the first film, people were getting ate in front of all their families and there was blood everywhere and like it was mass hysteria.
Yeah.
They had a couple of missing people.
You're
They could
right,
be like-
though, Mikey, because in the first kill of the first movie, it is a shark attack. They see
Yeah.
that. Yeah, they know
and they
that.
find
from-
the body and they
Yeah.
prove it's a shark attack.
Yeah.
And then the kid gets ate at the beach in front of the whole town. This movie, there's none of that.
But also, like, the marketing for this thing is all wrong because they're trying to say, like, oh, we only have one shark. There's only one shark in the ocean. We killed it. We'll never have this problem again. What they should be doing is, hey, we know sharks exist in the ocean, so every beach is going to have the risk of sharks. But our town takes it seriously, and we got the shark tower. So if one comes, we're going to see it, and we're going to tell you to get out of the water so you're safe swimming in this ocean because we're actually trying to protect you. But they don't do that.
I mean, you're not wrong. And Jen, what really pisses me off is they built a fucking shark tower and then
know.
shame the chief for going up there and doing his goddamn job.
I know. Yeah.
There's no evidence of a shark.
I mean, I get, Mikey, that there is no evidence, but he is up there just looking for sharks. At that point, he has done nothing wrong. And they're like, look at that fucking idiot up there looking for sharks, protecting our citizens.
If he put a deputy up there, he wouldn't have gotten in trouble with it. He should have delegated it. He has more than one. There was like 4 in the movie.
Yeah, he has 4 deputies and 1 secretary who
that's
you
true.
never see.
All right, so we got some teens talking, and there are a lot of teens in this movie, and I picked up some of their names, and some of them I really like, and some of them I was really annoyed by.
Yeah, so there's Tina, and then there's Mike. That's Brody's son.
Uh-huh.
And then there's Brody's younger son, who's not a teen.
Sean. I called him
right?
little brother a lot. But
And
yeah.
then there's Jock Kid and Nerdy Kid, and that's it. The rest are just teens in my mind.
Well, then there's girl, and then there's cousin with the bad hair.
By the way, Cousin with the Bad Hair is my new band name. Called
And
it.
then there's my favorite teen where he's like, she's not gonna look at me. I'm skinny.
Yeah, the nerd.
I'm rich.
Yeah,
the nerd.
I live on an island all year.
Holy shit. Mikey, I fucking loved that. He was like, she's never going to like me. I have glasses. I'm thin. I live on the island all year. I was like, dude, if this was 2020, you would be slaying.
I know.
Because of all of the things you just mentioned. I do get it was like 70s, so it was different, but still.
He's like, I have a good family. I have a 401k.
Oh, yeah.
I got good health insurance. I love kids.
I have a boat.
Right.
He's like one of those nerds, Mikey. You know, one of those nerds that's like rich, lives on an island, is thin, you know, has a boat. You know,
Yeah.
everyone hates those people.
Oh, he wears glasses though, so totally unfuckable. Yeah, it is very stereotypical teen dialogue, But I do want to say, his friend Doug with the hat is Keith Gordon, and he's been in a bunch of horror stuff. Like he was Arnie in Christine, and he was also in Dress to Kill too. Yeah, he's kind of a bigger actor, and I love him in this movie and just in everything. But like, so many of these teens look just alike too.
Holy shit, you aren't kidding.
I know.
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah.
how many guys look exactly like Mike? I couldn't figure out which one was him.
All of them.
They do. I know. That's why I knew Big Curly Friend, because he looks different.
Yeah, there was a point where Tina is talking to some dude, and I'm like, oh, that's their boyfriend. And then she goes over and starts kissing some other guy, and I was like, you whore. No, I was just like, I was just like, I don't know who that is.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, and it's just because they look exactly alike. They're all on their own sailboats, and they all have exactly the same clothes.
It would have helped if they wore tank tops of the same color the whole movie.
Yeah, it would have been helpful if they all had like "Hello, my name is" stickers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Honestly, there's just too many. There's too many teens. Is all I'm going to say. Like, I feel like the teens are a nice addition to this, but you need 3. You need a love triangle with 3, and that's it.
If you have 3, you can't kill any.
They didn't even kill that many. Like there was like 19 survivors at the end.
And I did learn from this movie that if you're a teenager, you're going to slip off boats at like ridiculous times.
Hey, it's slippery.
Oh, so when we first meet the teens on the dock, I had to Google something immediately because someone said that she has tits like a sparrow.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
had no idea what that, like, I don't even know if that's a good or a bad thing. I was like, is that an insult or is that a compliment?
Did you Google sparrow porn?
I literally, I mean, not this time, Jen.
You accessed your sparrow porn folder?
I haven't saved my hard drive because it's 2009. No, I Googled sparrow tits because I
Yeah.
didn't know what it meant. Apparently, tits are a like subspecies of like the sparrow bird, and
Oh.
they're just smaller. I had no idea. So I guess it was a cut down, but I had no
Well-
idea that was a thing because I'm not an ornithologist.
That actor said that he improvised that line, and the
Really?
actress in question was like, apparently forgave him for it, but he said, I was immediately regretful that I said it. when
Yeah.
I-
Oh,
when
yeah.
I said it. Yeah.
Maybe you should have been. So,
Yeah,
I hear
exactly.
ya.
Maybe
I mean-
you would think that an editor would be like, yeah, that's kind of shitty. I won't put that in there, but they did.
They
The
did,
editor may have
yeah.
been like, I don't know what the fuck that means, so I'm just gonna leave
He's
it
like,
in.
this
Yeah.
was his best, least offensive take.
Yeah, you should have heard the shit he said after that on the other tape.
Right.
It was really bad.
Well, okay, so we're at a lighthouse, and we're going to see this lighthouse quite a bit.
I'm sorry. Now I'm just thinking of like some really horrible shit he could have said, so we've got to move on before
Oh.
I say it.
Yep.
Oh, that's Tina. What an ugly bitch.
Just like super mean shit.
Okay, so because Brooke has a friend that he wants to hook Mike up with, and her name is Jackie.
Yeah, like a blind date. I think that's cousin with the bad hair, right, Mikey?
Yeah, it's cousin.
Yeah.
She doesn't show up for 45 more
You
minutes.
only see these girls in the 70s. There's no other like time that you see these kind of girls.
Yeah, very few of the teens like went on to do anything else that I recognize too, you know.
Didn't Sean go on to be in a lot of movies? Or no, it's the guy who plays Sean in the later movies, isn't it?
You mean Dennis Quaid?
I remember Mikey telling me about that, and I didn't think that looked like Dennis Quaid.
Spoilers for Jaws 4. We'll skip to Jaws 4. In Jaws 4, it's the same shark as the first movie. It kills Chief Brody, kills one of the sons,
I knew
and
it.
hunts the mom and the other son.
Well, you just ruined Jaws 4 for me, Mikey.
I'll never watch
No.
it.
That's like the trailer.
No.
It's called The Revenge for a reason.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
So before we move on out of this dock scene, we also see Brody and the chief talking, and Brody's talking about the boat. And
Yeah.
it drives me insane that he has been the chief of police for this town for at least 4 years and does not know how to drive a boat.
Yeah.
He is the worst at his job. Like, I understand why he gets fired in this movie, but not for the shark stuff. Like, they have probably been looking to fire him for years because he has zero interest in doing half of his job, which is policing the water.
That was a thing in the first one, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm just now here, so I don't know anything. You would think after 3 years of not arresting murderers and not arresting, robbers and stuff.
Peeping Toms.
Yeah, peeping Toms is the only thing that guy is dealing with, and he's only got 4 people under him, that he would have learned how to drive a fucking boat by now.
It's not that difficult. Yeah.
He's delegating.
What I hate is at the end of the first one, he's like, you know what? I kind of like the water. I kind of like being on the boat.
Yeah.
Woo! Now, counterpoint. He is a lot more attractive in this movie, though. So
You think?
I will allow it.
He is twice as
Okay.
tan, yes.
Yeah. He's got
okay.
like that Instagram filter of dreaminess. You know, it's still the same old Brody, but
He's like a mahogany.
yeah, I was into it.
All right. All right. Anyway, we can move on out of the dock scene,
Yeah.
but that like really bothered me that he just did not give a shit about boats. I was like, that's
Right.
your job, you asshat. You own a police boat. Like, you are the police chief in a precinct that has a goddamn police boat. You should learn how to use it.
Well, the first thing we're going to see is like a bunch of fun teenage sailing silliness, you know, like water balloons and
Oh,
stuff.
yeah. There are so many boat and beach montages in this movie. It is ridiculous.
I really liked them.
I mean,
thought they
but
were
if you
fun.
cut all the montages, this movie's
Yeah.
40 minutes. So it
Yeah.
needs it to hit that runtime.
True.
It did make me miss going to the beach.
I'll never go to the beach again after watching these movies.
I know, because it's not safe. There are
When was
sharks.
the last time you saw a shark tower at a beach, Mikey?
I saw an actual shark at the last time I went to the beach.
Oh, I'm out. No, I'm never
Yeah, I
going to go
know.
to the beach.
Because statistically, sharks rarely attack humans. I mean, it's fine. It was like 20 feet away. It was big. I ran out of the water. I mean, for sure.
Mikey's really coming to this episode pro shark, I think.
I know. He's taking some hot takes right now.
Okay, so we're now in Brody's office, and lots of people want to talk to him about their mundane bullshit that's going on in their lives. And this felt like, I know Spielberg did not direct this, but this felt very much like a Spielberg kind of scene where there's just a
Yeah.
lot of things going on, a lot of people talking over one another.
Yeah, like you see like Bobo Newman from Seinfeld's yelling about him at something, and he actually comes back as the photographer guy who like develops the photos. And then there's some like old man yelling about how Grace Kinney is driving his son crazy by like dancing in a towel from window to window.
His son.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She won't do it by the window in my bedroom.
Right.
Either way, but there is just general craziness going on. Yeah.
Yeah, but we learned that 908 means get me out of here. So that was like a little escape code that he just didn't
Yes.
tell anybody, you know.
Well, no, his deputy's a moron.
right.
His
yeah.
deputy, he was about to become chief moron. But yeah.
At least he can drive a boat, right?
I guess that's fair. Yeah, he is better equipped to be chief of this town than Brody is.
And he's a lovable moron, but yeah.
Yeah.
But so he found the camera that they found under the abandoned cruiser, which was
Yes.
the camera from the beginning. And that's going to come back in a little bit. It's a little
The
camera.
Scubarazzi camera.
Scubarazzi camera.
Yeah.
Okay, so teens are parasailing, and this part I thought was really cool because it's the big parasail, and we see the shark under the water, and
Is
he keeps
that
like
parasailing?
No, where the kids
something-
are like dangling from the sail.
It's pontoon sailing.
Is that when they're in the swing in the back where the sail's lifting them up and stuff?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he's not on the back of a boat. It's just like it's like kite sailing.
I don't know. I thought those kids were going to die. They should be doing that. It's dangerous.
Yeah,
Me too.
But how cool was this, like for the movie's purposes? Because he
Oh, I
keeps
thought it was great. Yeah, because I was on the edge of my seat.
Right. And we see the shark underneath him, and we see like we keep coming back and forth underneath the water and over the water, and he keeps dipping in and then just getting pulled out right before the shark gets him, and then dipping, and it's really cool. I think it's really well done. But the shark doesn't get him.
No, he got really close though.
If the shark got him, then Brody could have freaked out.
Right. But I mean, the shark is like in that water. Oh, and this is the same scene where we see the person skiing.
Yeah, the
right?
water skier.
Because instead of getting the parasailer or whatever you call that, what that guy's doing.
Yeah, I had a lot of questions about that because after just missing Kite Guy, and there's like a smorgasbord of humans to eat. This shark decides, fuck it, I guess I can't kill anybody here, and goes off to some remote place where, it's like, well, you know what?
Yeah.
I kind of want to get away with this, right?
Yeah.
Because I want the townspeople to not believe that I exist.
Yeah.
So he finds this remote place where there's this woman water skiing.
Yeah, and I get this though, because I know someone like this in real life. They are super interested in like the chase, but they're not super interested once they catch the person. Like once they catch this
I don't
woman.
like where this is going.
So-
I don't like where this is going.
Yeah.
So, and that's what Scarjaws does here. He is like all about chasing this woman down. And then once he gets her, he just leaves her alone. And then
Once he gets her, he blows it all up. I get it.
yeah, he goes after her friend. And then her friend, instead of submitting to Scarjaws, dumps gasoline on herself and her boat and then shoots it with a flare and it explodes her.
I know.
Yep.
Mikey, how did that make you feel to see someone literally monk protest themselves instead of going on a date with Scarjaws?
Look, you don't know how that shark grew up.
That shark needs some therapy, is all I'm saying. Do you think the intention was for her to pour gasoline on herself? It looks that way.
It does look like that. It looks like her response is to just freak out, pour gasoline on herself, and light
commit
herself
suicide,
on fire.
right? Like that was
Exactly.
insane to me.
I think she's trying to pour the gas on the shark somehow in her
okay.
mind.
Yeah, I think so.
She thinks that she can get away with pouring gas on the shark and shooting a flare at it, but it only singes him basically in the end.
Yeah.
And kills herself because she explodes in a big mushroom cloud.
Yeah.
Right.
And
And
everything.
I mean, I could see, like, if she could just be panicking. And if a shark were, like, ramming its head into my boat and it's gigantic, like,
Yeah.
I can't say what I would actually do.
I would freak the fuck out.
And it could be she saw the gasoline spilling, so she picked it up to try to keep it from spilling. And that's just the first thing her brain thought to do, and it just spilled all over herself. But it's just bizarre. It looks
It
like
is
they
bizarre.
needed an explosion, and they just needed it to somehow explode,
I will say this is the first scene in the movie where the movie really teaches us that life jackets are important.
Yeah.
Because that water skier was skiing very fast without
Yes.
a life jacket.
Yeah.
By the way, that is the weirdest reaction to your friend like being gone. She was behind the boat at one point having fun water skiing. She drives the boat back and like, well, my friend's not here. And then she examines the ski and she's like, well, there's not a human being in this anymore.
Right.
And like and she's like, okay, and then she starts calling out her name. And like, that's weird. And before she can really get scared, that's when the shark comes up behind her.
Oh, I
Big
don't think-
ass shot.
I really wanted there to be a foot still in the ski.
Oh.
And her like pull the ski out with a foot attached to it, and then Jaws attack her. I feel like that would have been insane, but awesome. And then,
Yeah.
of course,
Yeah.
to protest that in the movie, she pours gasoline on herself and lights it on fire.
Did this
Yeah.
movie cut gore, Jen, because it wanted a lower rating or something? Because there was like not.
I haven't heard that much about that.
This movie was going to be rated R if they didn't lower the body count, at least. I know
Really?
is one thing. But I don't know what they felt about gore itself back in 1978 because we don't have a PG-13 rating yet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that didn't come into the
Right.
80s.
Yeah, so I don't know what they thought about gore. Like if you had one guy who got killed like in a terrible way, would that just make it an automatic R or what? I know that you see some PG movies back in this day that get away with stuff that PG movies cannot get away with.
Oh, like nudity.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
No kills go to the level of Quint's death in the first one.
Oh,
Like, no one
no.
even comes close.
Right.
Yeah,
And
not
that
at
death
all.
is
No.
horrifying and amazing. But
Mhm.
Well, I do know that the director, I think there were a couple of different directors that worked on this. I know the production was kind of troubled. So I don't think they shot extra gory scenes and then cut them back. I think it may just have been not really wanting to do the effects or something. Maybe the shark was effects enough, or
Yeah.
maybe that they just didn't really know how to do it effectively. And I mean, it doesn't bother me that there's not gore, except there are a couple of times where I can't tell if somebody actually got bit. you know?
There are a lot of times you can't tell if someone gets bit or not. So before we leave the scene, before the skiing accident takes place, and by accident I really mean shark murder, when we see, I think Tina and her boyfriend on the beach,
Yeah.
Tina's like, oh, let's go skiing. And her boyfriend's like, maybe next week. Not even like later today or tomorrow, but next fucking week. That is the guy who was planning on breaking up with Tina and doesn't want to do any shit she does.
He named
true.
his boat Tina's Joy, though. Did you guys notice that?
Oh,
it's
I thought
Tina's
that was
boat.
her boat. That's definitely her boat. Tina's family is rich, and she has her own boat. And this dude doesn't care about Tina. He just wants like access to the rich life.
I think it's her, his
Well,
boat.
he just wants to bang her. That's their entire relationship in the film.
Yes.
Is
That is true.
they're either in the boat, like they can't be seen in the boat when they're throwing water balloons at them and stuff.
Yeah.
Or they're behind the rest of the guys later on, and they like, well, we'll catch up to them later. And then she's talking about bruises on her thighs and crap that her mom's
Yeah.
getting onto her too, and everything.
Oh, yeah.
That's all they do. That's all. And like they're on the beach, they're fucking there too. I mean, it's just like that's all they're doing, is
Right.
the whole time.
It is very hot and heavy. And it's funny because I guess it's just like a kind of a weak actor, but like I can't remember what the boyfriend looks like, but Tina does get a lot more to do and a lot more scenes.
I honestly thought the boyfriend was Mike until the boyfriend died, and then I saw
Right.
Mike later. I was like, oh, I guess that Mike and her weren't dating.
Legit thought Mike died twice in this movie.
He
Legit.
doesn't die once. I mean, but yes, I felt the same way, Chris. 100% felt the same way.
I think Mike should
Yeah.
have been her boyfriend because his love interest, the cousin, only gets like 2 lines of dialogue the whole film, and she
Well-
only shows up at the end. And then, like, one of her lines of dialogue is, "Why don't you show up at the boat and don't listen to your parents, you fucking asshole?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
She gaslights him into like getting in trouble. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there's an old woman who also sat because they're making out right next to some old woman's house who's on the porch, just like chilling
Yeah.
out, listening to the sweet sounds of youth, I guess.
Oh, and then like Chief Brody comes over because there's been an explosion, right? And he's like
Right.
interviewing Tina and I assume that was like her grandma and the boyfriend. And Tina is playing catchphrase because she won't say the word explosion, but she's saying all of these things that are like explosions, which I thought was
There was like
hilarious.
a loud noise and
Yeah, it was
fire.
like, and there was like a big like it's a lot of smoke, and then the grandma's like explosion, and Tina's like, yes, that's it, you win.
My favorite part about this scene is that the grandmother's glasses are condensated the whole scene, and like she can't see through them. Chief Brody, is that you?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're saying, who I don't know what could have caused this. Except Brody knows. And he stares off into the ocean. He's like, that looks like a shark explosion to me.
Yep.
Jen, a shark explosion.
A shark explosion. And to be fair, he has caused a shark explosion before. So if anyone knows about shark explosion.
Jen,
Mm-hmm.
do you think the lady in the boat saw the first movie and was like, I'm going to take it out like Brody took it out? I have something flammable and a gun. So she was trying
I
to
think
throw the
so.
gasoline tank in the shark's mouth and missed. And then she was just like trying to set him on fire. It's got to be. That's got to
Yeah, she just can't pull it off Scheider style, you know?
be. No, she's
That's
not as
right.
cool.
So deputy and some boat guy are dragging the bottom of the sea.
Drag shadowing.
Yeah.
It is a little bit of drag shadowing. Yeah, because they're trying to find these bodies because they don't know where the bodies are.
Yeah, but this is where they sort of power shadow
They
what
do.
is going to happen at the end of the movie because they're dragging and they're like, "Oh, this is something really heavy," and he like, tries to pick it up and they're like, "Oh, it's an underwater cable,"
Right.
Or whatever
Oh,
he says.
that
yeah.
definitely won't come back later.
Oh, and then he says, "Put that back. Be gentle. We don't want to cause a power outage on the whole city or whatever."
Exactly.
The whole
And-
island. Oh yeah, but the deputy like does not want to do his job.
Yeah.
The deputy is like being an asshole about like, oh, let's get out of here before we have to do something. Or,
Yeah.
let's get out of here before we have to find something. Like that is your job, and they make him the chief.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know.
The boat blew up, Todd. We're not finding the body.
That's fair.
So now we got breakfast at the Brody house. What I noticed is that Mike doesn't want to get a job and he just wants to sail the day away, which I can understand. But their response is to get him a job that he has to work every fucking day of the summer. Like, get him a part-time job. He'll go in a couple of days a week. He'll get to sail. Shouldn't be like some big, like, Sophie's Choice, you know?
They said
Yeah.
he was grounded, but did that have a different connotation, like not to go out in the water? Is that what that was being?
Yeah, I think this
think
is like
so.
Brody amping up the fact that he thinks it's a shark, right? So he's
Yeah.
like, you can't go in the water, and because you want to, you're grounded. Also, you have to paint toilets for the rest of the summer as your summer job or whatever. But yeah, I think he grounds him just to keep him out of the water, not because he necessarily did anything wrong.
I thought he was like grounded because he goes to the bar later on.
Right.
He's just grounded
grounded from sailing.
Right.
I think he just tells his friends he's grounded because he doesn't want to tell his friends, my dad's fucking crazy because he killed a giant shark 4 years ago, so he thinks there's giant sharks everywhere. He's not going to go into all that. He's just like, I'm grounded. I did something bad.
Except they were all there. And my dad's fucking a hero because he killed a giant shark in the best movie ever. So let's all believe him.
Back then, there was a stigma about mental illness, and you couldn't talk about
That's
PTSD.
true. Especially not males. Yeah, but I do think that when he says grounded, it's not you have to stay in your room or you can't go out. It's like when a pilot gets grounded and they just can't fly, you know? Yeah. And I thought about that a little too. Okay, so we have a bunch of teens hanging out at a lighthouse and they're running around and hanging fun. And oh my God, there's a dead killer whale on the beach now. And it's got gigantic bites taken out of it. And then we see Brody up there, and we've got a lady shark expert, so Lady Hooper.
Right. I'm glad that we got to this point because this lady somehow disappears from the movie after this. Like no new like test results or anything come out of this.
Right.
She's just like, we don't know possibly who did this because all sorts of animals have been eating this orca whale. And so fuck you for even thinking it's a shark, and then leaves the picture.
And this is a mammal, don't you know?
My favorite part of this scene was Brody starts it off with, well, what do you think? And she goes, before I answer you, let's do this. They have to measure it in complete silence. They like literally take out like a tape measure and measure the killer whale in complete silence. She refuses to answer his question. Why? Like, why not just talk about it while you're measuring it? It's ridiculous.
What you don't see is the past 4 years where she's been called out on every fucking thing that's washed up on shore. And Brody's like, it's a shark, right? And she's like, no.
Yeah, like there's a boot just washed up on shore, and Brody's like, hey, that's a shark, right? And she's like, no, it's a boot. But no, actually, what she would say is, actually, before we can talk, let's measure the boot in complete silence.
Yeah, she's like, Brody, what did I tell you 2 years ago? I'm going to do my job first, and then I'll give you my report after.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because not everyone who dies in the ocean is by shark attack.
Guys, Brody really could benefit from some therapy, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I think he would benefit if anyone in the town was open to talking about the experience they all shared 4 years ago in the original Jaws.
And the experience Brody had on their behalf that they all benefited from that terribly traumatized him and cost him his new best friend, Quinn.
Yeah, exactly. I have a question, and I'm so embarrassed to ask this question. Does Richard Dreyfuss die in the first movie?
No.
Then where the fuck was he in this movie?
Brody called him and he said, "No, I'm on the ocean, the whatever research thing." In the first movie, he was supposed to go on this deep sea research boat, and he blew that off to go study the shark. And in this movie, Ellen's like, "Hey, Brody called. He said he's on that deep sea researcher thing that he blew off last time, and he's not helping you with the shark because you got Lady Hooper. You don't need me."
Well, I mean, honestly, I missed him. We needed a Dreyfuss.
You need someone for Brody to play off of.
Yeah.
I think
There's
so,
no
too.
one.
Part of the reason for Dreyfuss, I mean, I've seen several reasons. Spielberg didn't want to do the second one because he had so much trouble on the first one. But they also said something about how Close Encounters of the Third Kind was running late in production.
Ah, okay.
And both of them obviously were involved with that, and they couldn't get back in time, or at least Dreyfuss couldn't get back in time.
Yeah.
To reprise the role.
Yeah,
That
and
makes
then
sense.
he didn't want to do it without Spielberg, is what I read too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, I do think you do miss him in this movie. Although, if he had come back, it would have been even more almost the exact same movie, to a certain extent, I think.
I mean, it's 90% the same movie already.
I just wish the shark doctor had stuck around longer or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But she delivers my favorite line of the movie, which is, "Sharks don't take things personally."
I wrote that down too. I love that. Yeah. But they do. They clearly do. And the
I
rest
know.
of the series, according to Mikey, is about how sharks take things personally. So even though in reality she's right, in Amity reality, she could not be more wrong.
Cue the Roy Scheider meaningful look out into the ocean after
yeah.
she says that.
But she also tells us about the echo shadowing or sound shadowing or whatever, because she talks about how sharks are attracted by sound, like repetitive motions, like mechanical motions. I don't know if that's true or not, but I buy it.
Which he learned in the first movie.
Yeah, he already knew that.
Remember, he opened the encycledias and read all about sharks.
Yeah, and the shark study montage.
Sharkrofish.
Holy shit. Yes.
Anyway, so now they're back at town hall. And the mayor's saying, hey, we're going to have a good season, right? Yeah. And Brody's saying, I think we have another shark problem. And I think this is when they're having their like private meeting. And he's like, look, we can't, like, you think everything is a shark victim, you know?
Yeah, well, he literally even says, so many people die every year in the water. Not all of them are sharks.
Yeah.
Like that's a very weird thing for a mayor to brag about.
Hashtag mayor's right. These boats blew up. People died. There's no evidence of a shark attack. No one's seen a shark. No one's found a body. No, I mean, there's just no evidence.
People are always pouring gas on their boats and shooting flares and blowing themselves up.
Especially during the gas shortage of the 70s, yes.
This
That's
town
right.
has a drinking problem, not a shark problem.
I mean, can it have both though? You know?
Yeah, it could.
I mean,
it
yeah.
could. You are
Well,
right.
and this is like, I think why the Stefano inclusion into this is interesting because that does give a little bit of a motive. Like nobody's going to want to buy property here if Stefano. I
Yeah.
mean, you shouldn't buy property from Stefano because he is
No,
evil.
he is the shadiest property developer there is.
He really is.
Are you kidding me? The shit he did to Marlena?
Oh man, she got
I know.
possessed because of him.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm sure the storyline progressed past 1996 when I last watched it, but yeah.
Not in my heart though, you know. All right, so now, but Brody says, you're going to remember this conversation by the end of this movie. Ah, ha ha.
That's right.
Yeah. So now Brody's driving on the beach and
This is the
sees
scene where he sees the thing in the water, like by the
It
beach,
is.
just like churning in the wake. He like
Right.
stops and he's like, oh, what is that? And then he walks out to it. He spends, 30 seconds taking his shoes and socks off and then walks in completely fully clothed into the water like a goddamn idiot. And so what drove me crazy was, I swear to God, with the insanity that had already happened in this movie, my brain was thinking, oh, Jesus. Jaws set a Brody trap. I mean, it turns out that that's not what it is because he grabs it and turns it over and then he gets attacked by a charred corpse.
gasoline lady, yeah. But yeah, he does go all the way into the water, like to waist height, and then he gets attacked.
Well, not attacked.
I mean, I would
yeah.
feel attacked if a body flipped over and hung on to me.
I mean, I would just be glad that I was already in the water because there's shit in my pants now.
well,
I'd just be happy a woman wants to touch me.
Yeah. Even a charred woman.
She was really hot.
Mikey, that's where I went.
all right. So, but the next thing he does, the way he works out all of his trauma, is by making poison wax bullets.
Oh my God, sodium cyanide.
Yeah, dude, I was like, what the fuck is going on? This seems so out of character for everyone in this movie. I was like, is Quint back? But no.
Oh,
Yeah.
no. He's literally putting cyanide tips on his already hollow point bullets and then sealing it with hot wax, which I don't know anything about bullets, but I don't want to have like an open flame close to bullets. I feel like that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Well, this is
Yeah.
America, okay?
Yeah.
It's my right to shoot myself in the testicle because of a misfired bullet that I set on fire while trying to put cyanide in the hollow tip.
So I could kill a
That's
My
Shark.
shark.
Second Amendment.
But yeah, it was just bizarre. But so now the deputy is there and like,
And the deputy is super fucking nosy. The deputy walks in and he covers it with like a towel. And the deputy's talking about something. I honestly don't remember. And then Brody gets up and walks out, turns his light off. And the deputy stays in like the doorway and then turns the light back on and is looking into the office. And then Brody runs back in there. It's like he walked in on Brody like looking at porn.
right.
Brody picks up everything within the towel and walks away like, oh, I'm going. I gotta go. Oh, I'm gonna leave. Don't look at what's in the towel.
Dumps it all in the washing machine.
I'm
real
definitely
quick.
not looking at barbecue porn.
Ew. But so now he goes home because he realizes he's late for dinner. And this is when we find out that Matt Hooper called, who is Richard Dreyfuss, and that he can't come.
Right.
And Ellen's asking him what's up. Like, what, you seem upset. And he's like, yeah, I dragged a body out of the ocean. Remember that argument we got in yesterday? Like, this is what happened. Yeah. And this is when he tells Mike that he's grounded and he can only stay on the beach and that he got him a job.
That's right.
Yeah. And Mike is not happy about that, which, I mean, understandable because it's
Yeah,
like
if you
a
were about to have a
17-year-old.
kick-ass summer, like he's probably what, 16 or 17? Like he's
Yeah.
old enough to be like going out with his friends every day and like hanging out at the beach and like that would be a fun-ass summer. And
Yeah.
it's like now just a summer of him painting toilets like Tom Sawyer.
In front of all of his friends still having
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
But so now we get a beach montage, which I really enjoyed. I thought it was a little repetitive, and I saw like how many different kids eating hot dogs. But
Yeah, I want to point out that Jen just said she enjoyed a montage that was 70% lady butts and 30% kids eating hot dogs.
it just
Yeah.
sounded fun.
That's
There
all
was
that
a
montage
lot
is.
of ass in this montage.
There is, yeah. All of the montages go on like 30 full seconds longer than they need to. Like a montage like this should not be a minute, and they're all like a minute 30.
And so now we have Stefano who's giving like a tour or something to rich people who are going to like buy condos or something. We don't
Yeah.
really find out too much about this, which is fine. We don't really need to. But and Mike is painting and Brody's up in the tower. And I was just thinking, I hope you put on sunscreen because you're going to get sunburned. Also, aren't you really hot? Because he's wearing like his uniform, you know?
Jen, he is
Yeah.
really hot.
Yeah. But don't you think they could have put an umbrella up there or some kind of roof
Yeah,
to block?
he's literally in a like Campbell's soup can on a stick. There's no way that's not 100 degrees hotter than it is outside.
How he got that tan, man.
It probably is.
This is the most observant crowd of beachgoers ever. They're all like, why is he up there? That's so crazy. He's up in a tower. So weird.
And what you say is that's to make sure we don't see any sharks because the
Yeah.
ocean has sharks in it. And no beach
Yeah.
is safer than any other beach.
Absolutely. But Stefano 100% is like, oh, that's just a place where they go and like look out or whatever. And then the little girl who was like amongst her parents that Stefano's trying to sell property to or whatever that scene is like, oh no, that's a shark tower. I saw one of those in Florida. And like, why is
Yeah,
she the
exactly.
only one that knows that? Like, those are all adults. Her parents probably went to Florida with her. Who was she talking to in Florida? And why did that
Yeah.
person take her to a shark tower? I now need to know what went on in Florida with that girl.
She's like, I read about Amityville and like 14 people died here of shark attacks like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
We shouldn't buy this property, Mom. We should go to the other beach that's not any more or less likely
Shut
to
up,
have a
Cheryl.
shark.
We're buying here.
Here's the thing that drives me fucking insane. When you go in the ocean, in any place on Earth, you are running the risk of it getting eaten by a shark.
Absolutely.
Quit trying to pretend that sharks do not exist in the
And
ocean.
quit trying
Oh
to
my
pretend
God.
that did not happen here recently.
I know.
Yeah. Anyway, so Brody is like looking through his binoculars, or maybe he's not. He does have them, but he does see like a thing in the water.
It would be really stupid if he didn't have binoculars.
I know. He's just like looking
Yeah.
with his hands up as binoculars. That would have been amazing. No, but he's got real binoculars, right? And
Yeah.
he's looking and he sees this like mass in the water that does not at all look like a shark. It doesn't even look like a whale. It looks like just a dark section of the water. But he immediately gets down, starts yelling like a madman with his gun out, running down the beach. This is PTSD. Like he is
It really
definitely
is.
seeing shit that is not there.
It
I
is.
have to say, this goes a long way to what Michael's saying at the beginning of this whole podcast, is that this scene, more than any of them, relates to the PTSD because, that's an unmoving mass
It
that's
is.
in the water. But you realize that from the first movie, he was just sitting there watching and didn't do anything, and he felt bad about it, and that's what's getting through his mind now. He's like, it's the same thing. Let's go.
Right. He's seeing that little boy that got eaten by the raft because he
Right.
didn't act. Yeah. Yeah, it is really, and if this movie were not quite so silly, I feel like you could really dig into the PTSD element a lot, you know?
That's why I would have loved Richard Dreyfuss, because I feel like Richard Dreyfuss has more shark experience than Brody does, and I feel like he would not have been as messed up as Brody was. And also Brody went through a lot more than, Richard Dreyfuss did.
Yeah.
So I feel like they could have had some really interesting conversations about dealing with what traumatic experience they both sort of dealt with together. I really wish we had seen that. I do realize that kind of conversation didn't happen in the 70s between two men, but still.
4 scenes of them drinking together and talking
Yes.
about the events of the first film would have like
Absolutely.
elevated this film.
Yeah, if you had like the scene in the first one with Quint and them on the boat and they're drinking and Quint's telling the story, if we had a scene like that, but instead of Quint telling the story, it's him and Richard Dreyfuss sort of talking about how fucked up they are now or how messed up Chief Brody is now that he has lived through that experience and how he sees sharks everywhere and that kind of stuff, that also would have helped explain like why no one believes him in the town, even though
Right.
because he could have like laid some backstory of, every time something happens in the ocean, I assume it's sharks. And then you would have started to believe, like, the mayor, like, listen, it's not sharks, Brody. We've been through this a million times. We just don't have any of that story. So it seems like they're just dicks who don't believe him, even though this traumatic event happened like 4 years ago. Anyway.
What's so weird is that they make time for Brody to be sad about losing his job. Like, he has a scene like that with Ellen, and he's like, oh, I never been fired before, and I'm afraid I won't be good enough. And so they they deal with his emotions. It's just not the emotions that he clearly has and is repressing, and it makes sense to the plot. Yeah. It does bug me a little bit.
Anyway, so he gets down off this thing. He's running towards the beach, right?
Yeah, he's got poison bullets in his gun, waving it all over the place. Yeah.
And he literally shoots at the not even shark-shaped mass. It's like a diamond in the ocean, and he starts shooting at it, and then everyone's like, there's no shark, you crazy man.
But also, no one's in the water. He didn't need to shoot.
I know. Yeah, that's a good point, too. But even if that was a shark, those bullets would not have hit the shark.
Right.
It's bluefish.
Yeah,
Bluefish.
now, fisherman.
I realize it looked like to them like it was bluefish, but it looked a lot like red herring to me.
I think so.
If only it had been really red herring, that would have been like
honestly,
amazing.
it should have been. And I don't know if red herring is a sea fish, but it could have been. That would have been great.
I think that was originally what it was, and then somebody was like, no, that's not going to work.
That's too on the nose.
Exactly.
That's the thing about this. We were talking about how it never explores the whole PTSD thing, even though that seems to be what is going on here. And you're right, 1978, what are they? They're not going to talk about that stuff, and they're not going to have two guys doing it, whatever. Probably never even occurred to them to do that. But a whole thing where just before this, we have been, we've seen this long scene of him making the cyanide bullets. And then in a flash, he shoots all of them into the water. There's a point where he's at the top of the shark tower and he's ringing the bell and he comes down the ladder and Mr. Kondo guy is like, what is this idiot doing? Like he's not a local hero. Like when did he become an idiot to this guy? Like that guy must be new to Amity as well. Cause I don't know what's going on.
Cause Amity literally would have a statue of Brody from the first movie. He would have a Chief Brody Day where they would celebrate them killing the first Jaws, but not in this movie.
Oh, this is when he's looking at his Man of the Year plaque, and he's sad sitting in his office, and the phone rings. He finds out the pictures are in, they're developed.
And then Brody goes down to the picture developer's office, which is Bobo Newman from Seinfeld. I don't know. He looks
Fogarty
like Newman
is
from
his
Seinfeld.
name. Yeah,
Fogarty, thank you. Yeah. And then, do you guys remember when like developing pictures in a dark room was like dramatic? I probably should have said that. Like, do you guys remember when developing pictures in a dark room was dramatic?
Here, it's a little bit too dramatic. It takes forever for that thing to finally get a picture.
I like this is second to a microfiche montage for me. Like, I love the developing pictures thing. It's so cool.
I mean, show me developing pictures. Don't show me 3 different shots of the not developed picture.
It just rocking back and forth in the solution for it to develop. I thought that was hilarious. Yeah.
Oh, dude, I loved it. Yeah, and
it would have been just awesome if it was like the first picture was just like some dude flipping off the camera, and they're like, "Okay, not the one we wanted. We'll put this one in."
And then the girl
turns out that they were like a gay couple on a cruise together.
They have like some really explicit shots in there.
No, Bobo Newman from Seinfeld went through all of those beforehand, and he now has those in his private collection.
That's why it was so late.
That's why it took so long to develop. This is not a 1-hour film job.
Yeah.
Right. But the very first picture they develop, luckily, is the shark. And there's a tiny little bit of shark eye and like splash. And Brody knows that shark.
He's like, I recognize this motherfucker.
And so now he's like, yeah, see, I have the proof. Aha.
Well, and he literally like busts into like a Chamber of Commerce meeting or whatever that is, where it's just like the town elders. I don't know what to call that meeting, but you know what I'm talking about.
Like the selectmen.
It's Stefano, it's the mayor, and it's like I would assume prominent business owners.
Yes.
And there is a lady there, so it's not just all dudes. But
and
he's
she was
like
in the first one.
Yeah, from the
Yeah.
from the first
so he's
one.
like,
yeah.
it's a fucking shark. Look, I told you guys. And they're like looking at the photo and they're like, yeah, what is it, seaweed?
What the fuck is this?
I don't see anything that looks like a shark.
Or you can be like, oh my God, Brody, there's sharks in the oceans. You guys, you solved the case.
Right. You found a shark.
You cracked the
ocean.
case, Brody.
I mean, basically, they're like, yeah, we're not going to do anything about it.
Because Jen is just a random photo of a shark. You don't know it's killing people. There's still no evidence.
Except that's from the camera of people who are now missing, and they found it by the
Who are
part.
diving underwater. I mean,
I do feel like Mikey is
Yeah.
very much hashtag Team Mayor right now.
Mhm. Oh, I
Yeah.
think so too. I'm hashtag Team Brody.
if one of those divers, if they found like the leg and they're like, it's been bitten, like the first film, I'd be like, there's a shark. You can't ignore that evidence. But they're like, they went missing.
Yeah, that's a good point, Mikey. They're not dead. I mean, they are
Right.
dead, but they don't know they're dead. They just think they're missing. But why would you
Right.
leave? I think they even mentioned the cost of the boat was like $100,000 boat. Why
Right.
would you leave a
Right.
$100,000 boat just floating in the ocean? So I think they're dead. But you're right. Even if they are dead, you don't know that they were killed by the shark.
Well, and so I think there's enough ambiguity in the situation that will excuse them keeping everything the same, which is what they want to do. So
Yes.
he hasn't, but there's enough evidence for Brody to say, no, this is definitely a shark. So it's kind of like you interpret it the way that you wanted to do it anyways, you know,
Right.
to support the narrative that's already in your head.
And then the mayor's like, hey, let us just retreat to this other room. You stay here, Brody. And we're
yeah.
going to talk about the quote unquote shark photo. But what they're really talking about is like, we got to fucking fire this guy, right?
Exactly,
He's been
yeah,
here 4 years.
Yeah.
He saved the day one day, and he has not learned how to boat since then. He
Right.
clearly is not interested in his job anymore. We need to fire him.
Yeah.
What I wanted to do is I wanted the mayor to come out and be like, look, due to your severe PTSD, you're unable to perform your job responsibilities appropriately.
But so fun fact about this, there's a deleted scene where he comes back out, or they show the voting, and the mayor is the only one who doesn't vote to fire him.
Oh,
which I
really?
appreciate. Yeah.
See, that's what I feel like the mayor likes him in the film and is trying not to piss him off.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what he was trying to convey with his act.
I think so too. And I think if that scene had been in there, it would have supported that.
Yeah, I think that confirms it.
And I don't know why they cut it. Maybe just because they.
Yeah, they could have taken out one montage.
I
for
know.
that.
One kid eating a hot dog.
I like how in the montage you chose to leave the lady butts but remove a kid eating the hot dog. Jen, you have some interesting takes during this this movie.
I don't like hot dogs. They're gross. Okay.
I'm with you, Jen. I am also pro lady butts.
Okay.
Listen,
I just want to
Jen,
go on record. That is
also
not
pro
what I
lady
said.
butts. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Everyone heard it. You guys now know that Jen is pro lady butt.
Hey, I like a
Yep.
good butt. There's nothing wrong with it. And I cannot
Exactly.
lie. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
I mean-
correct.
Okay. So now it's arcade time. And the nerds are there, and the
Yeah.
cool kids are there, and they're all having fun.
They're drinking beer.
They're at a bar, Jen. They're drinking alcohol as like high schoolers.
Not in my movie.
They talk about stealing
They
two
do
cases
talk
of
about
beer
stealing
in
beer.
this scene.
Oh, that's right.
yeah.
Because they're like, hey, let's go to the lighthouse tomorrow. Is this when the cousin like gaslights Mike into like going?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Now Mike is talking about his dad, and they're just kind of being like kind of jerky teens. And it's weird because I get the sense that they're all friends, but they kind of like each other. You know, they're like these little cliques.
It's
and
honestly
just-
like they
I
go
don't
to a
know.
school with a total attendance of 12 people, and there
That's
are
right.
still like your
Mhm.
cliques. There's like the popular kids, there's the nerds, but they all still like each other because there's only 12 of them, you know?
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right.
Yeah.
There's just
Yeah,
nobody
you're
else
not
to
gonna
talk
play basketball
to. Yeah,
without everyone at the school, you know? Although I did think it was interesting that Mike was like, oh, I can't go, I'm grounded. And then when, cousin with the bad hair, Mikey, when she comes up and goes,
Yeah.
are you going to go? He's like, yeah, I'm going to go. He's like,
Yeah.
he just said he wasn't going to go, but he's like, no, I'm totes going to go.
Do you always do what your parents ask you to do?
I mean, I get that. I have
Oh.
done shit that got me in trouble because I wanted to impress or spend more time with a girl in high school. Like,
Bro, I
get
still get in trouble.
Mikey, we know. And we love hearing the stories, baby.
But so right here, she shames Mike into ditching his
Yeah.
job, which,
Yeah.
I mean, that's fine. But then she says, okay, it's fine. No, we're all going to meet at 8. Ah, see ya, it's over. It just,
How many parties did you go to in high school that started at 8 a.m.?
It's a day boating trip. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't that rich. I mean, I was.
Yeah,
rich,
Mikey, you were definitely that rich.
but not sailboat rich.
Mikey was the kind of rich where he would go out scuba diving on a boat that was worth $100,000 and then just leave it and get another one. That's why he's not concerned about the scuba divers. He's like, yeah, of course they left a $100,000 boat. They had used it.
right.
We had a neighborhood pool, so we would go out there pretty early. Early 2000s, Mikey at the pool was like bathing suit, gold chain, boom box,
talking
Oh
a
my
lot
God.
about family. Yeah.
Like, I have no identity. Please like me.
Aw.
His identity was Vin Diesel from the Fast and the Furious movies.
This is pre-Vin Diesel.
Oh,
That
my
seems like
bad,
an
my
odd
bad.
identity for you to try to pull off, Mikey.
Although I really want to see you try now.
I've still got the chain.
I want to see that chain, man. So Brody gets home and he's all shit-faced and the deputy's there and everybody knows that he got fired and he gives the deputy his badge and the deputy's really sweet. He's like, I don't want your job. I think you're the greatest, deputy.
I think this is insane because if you were just fired from your job, they wouldn't be like, hey, do me a favor, get shit-faced, and then decide who you want to be the replacement chief of police.
Is that how that happened?
Yes.
I thought he was just already named the
Yeah,
next
that's what
chief.
I think so too. Because they probably
What?
like if you're going to fire the chief, you have to like have
Yeah.
somebody in line to replace
The
him.
only thing that would lend credence to the idea that he made him the chief is that he still had his badge. But I
Yeah.
think it's just because he left and he went to go drink, and then in the meantime of that period of time that he was off drinking, they made other dude the chief.
Yeah.
And he just didn't have a badge yet.
Is that why he had to go to Brody's house?
I think he genuinely went over there to console and be friends and
I think so,
all
too.
that.
In my mind, he had a meeting with the mayor while Brody was getting shit-faced, and the mayor was like, congratulations, we're going to make you the new chief, deputy idiot, but your first duty as acting chief is to go collect your chief badge from Chief Brody.
I mean, it's a test of his mettle.
I mean,
you know?
we don't. What kind of money do you think? We're not made of money
Right.
here in Amity. You got to get your own badge.
This is when he has his feelings talk with Ellen. He's talking about getting fired for shooting into the ocean in a crowd of people. So
Which, honestly, justified for getting fired for that.
I kind of
Yeah.
think so too. Yeah. Okay, so now it's the next morning, and Brody. And did you notice Brody was on top of the coverlet with his clothes on and like a quilt over him?
What I did notice is that Brody is having a very hard time letting go of the police chief of police job because he's still wearing his uniform.
If he takes his uniform off, it's real. God.
That's what
That's
it is.
true.
But we also see Mike trying to sneak out, and little brother whose name I didn't know yet, but
Sean.
his name is Sean.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Sean like threatens to tell parents that
Yeah,
he's
he goes,
sneaking out.
Take me with you. And Mike's like, no, you're a little nerd kid. I don't want to take you with me. And he goes, oh, okay. Michael! And starts yelling. And so Michael's like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Fine, I'll take you with me. Just shut
What is
up.
that kid doing up anyway?
I know.
The parenting in this scene is just terrible.
Sean's probably outside doing something or something. He'll be back later. We don't need to check on him.
That's
Yeah.
later, though. That's like later when they're already out in the water. But yeah, and even Chief Brody goes to Mike's room, opens the door, sees that Mike is gone, and goes, ha! Like he doesn't care. Like his son is breaking the rules that he
No, he
set.
thinks he's at work.
Yeah.
Like that is. No, I don't think he thinks he's at work. I think that is Brody being like, huh, Mike just became a man.
He says that explicitly later.
Yeah.
that he's-
Okay,
He's like,
okay.
he must be an early
Yeah.
riser. He's a morning man.
Oh, okay. I must
Right.
have missed that line.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What,
I agree. That scene confused me when I first watched it. I was like, why is he so happy that dude's gone? And I was still working my way through the grounded part of it too.
Yeah.
I was like, why is he so happy that he's gone? Didn't he ground him? The job.
Yeah.
well, but so the next thing we see are teens on the dock, and they're all getting into their boats, and it's kind of another one of those like, oh, do you like me?
Yeah.
But one of the things I like about these teens is how like friendly they are with the little brother Sean. You know, I thought that was really sweet. Yeah.
They're super
Yeah,
sweet.
because Mike's like, Sean, get lost. And this girl's like, I'll just take care of your brother
Yeah,
all day.
I'll-
I'm
Yeah.
very lonely and no one wants to get in my boat.
Oh, she seems
Right.
nice though. But one of the Napoleon Dynamite nerd gets Brooke, with
The girl he's
crazy
been like
Yeah.
flirting with the whole time. Yeah. Which I thought was great. I was like, oh, the nerd shot his shot and won. Good for him.
right.
Yeah.
But so everybody's getting on their boats. They're going out, and this is when they pass the scuba class.
Yeah, and they have like a little scuba montage thing here.
Yeah, which I liked. I just like a good montage, you know? I like seeing people doing what they're doing, you know?
Yeah, they're going like lobster diving, which is a thing. Like
Is it?
people yeah, they will go to like a lobster area on a reef or whatever, and they'll go down and like grab lobsters and then cook them that night. Did you guys catch the Sparky shadowing though? Because the guy who was leading the dive, his name is Sparky. And with what happens to Jaws at the end, I thought that was very funny.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
didn't catch that. Nice pickup, Todd.
Yeah. So Sparky is leading them down and they're like grabbing, lobsters or trying to grab lobsters. But yeah, one of them I thought got bit, but Jen, it's so hard to tell like what's happening when they're in water, but he doesn't get bit. We just see the shark sort of pass by him, and then you see him quickly go to the surface.
Yeah,
And then it cuts back to the kids on the boat. But we later find out that he got decompression sickness. It's the bends.
Right.
So they have to take him to the hospital. They literally have to put you in a decompression chamber for hours and slowly raise it back up if you don't ascend correctly.
Because you get like the bubbles in your blood. Yeah.
You literally get bubbles in your blood. Yeah.
But Jaws scared him really bad, so we had to like surface fast.
Absolutely.
And this
I
is when
get
you
it.
see Jaws' burn face.
I mean, yeah, your choice is get the bends or get eaten by a shark. So,
I'd rather get the bends because you can recover from that.
And now we see the fin starting to swim towards the sailboats. And we got the overhead shots of all the boats and the Jaws music playing, kind of like establishing that there are like 7 boats here. But so now Tina and her boyfriend are on their boat, and boyfriend just wants to make out, and Tina makes him get blankets, which is a smart move because, you get bruises. But then this is, I think, maybe my favorite kill of the movie because all of a sudden the shark is there. And like this shark is not fucking around like the first one is. Like it's ramming its face into the side of boats.
Yeah.
And it starts pulling the boat with Tina away because the boyfriend has fallen in the water.
I think the boyfriend's name is Eddie. And he's in the water. Right. And then the shark sort of, I guess, goes down and lets the boat go. And it's like pulled Tina in Tina's boat away from Eddie. And she's like, Eddie, swim back to the boat quickly. And really, like that's his only option, I guess.
Right.
He can't swim to the shore. So it's like a race for Eddie to get back to the boat or Scarjaws to get him. So Scarjaws, of course, gets him because he's much faster. But it looks like the shot of the very first kill in the very first Jaws where they're like she's getting dragged around, right? And the same thing's happening to Eddie. And then Eddie smacks into the boat.
Oh yeah.
And is like, help me. Like it was pretty rough, man.
It really was. And then my favorite part is when like you can see the boat in the middle and Eddie's on one side and the fin is on the other side.
Yeah.
And then the fin is just coming and then it slowly goes underwater and it's just so creepy.
Tina yells out, she's like, I always loved you, bye.
This and maybe the water skier part, I think, are my favorite parts of the movie,
Yeah,
I agree.
And so maybe that's part of why I think I like this movie so much is because I feel like there are a lot more of those kinds of sequences than there are in the first one. And I'm not saying this movie is better than the first one. I'm just saying the first one is a lot of like character study and like slowly building suspense. And this one just has a lot more action to it, you know? Okay, now we're back in town with the ambulance and Brody still is pretending that he's the police. And I guess nobody else knows that he's been fired.
No, I think everyone knows he's been fired because I do love that he's walking back to his truck.
He kicks all the beer cans.
So he drove home drunk that night. He
Yeah.
DUI'd his way home. But then he is driving to drop off the cruiser or whatever that Jeep is. And that's when he sees the ambulance and he starts following the ambulance to see what happened. And then that's when he like, oh shit, the shark is on the loose again. And that's when he decides to go back to the dock.
Right. Firing be damned.
Yeah, he like commandeers the police boat.
But they also find out Mike is there. So now Ellen and Brody are going to go out and they commandeer that boat. And Deputy Jeff is just like, all right, I'm going to get in trouble, but you're still my boss in my heart.
And Ellen jumps in the boat and the deputy, who's now the chief, jumps in the boat and they all go chasing after the kids. They go to Tina's boat and they find Tina, right? They go over there. And then Brody gets in the boat and is like, oh my God, everyone's gone. And then he sees Tina like crying and like freaking out, which is completely understandable.
Oh, he's like, women's problems. Ellen, come solve them.
Yeah, exactly.
You know
He's
what?
like, Ellen, come here and help.
This is actually the first time we know that it's a shark because I don't think they knew what the guy saw when he came up because he came up so quickly. He was like incapacitated.
Right.
So this is when, and she's like, they're asking what happened. And this is when she screams shark. You know?
And then that's when Brody calls Ellen over to take care of this woman's quote unquote issue, what you were saying, Mikey. And then Brody gets back in the police cruiser boat. He kicks the chief out of the boat into Tina's boat. And then he calls that passing by boat and says, you're going to go in their boat. I'm going to go get the kids. But he doesn't wait for that boat to come over and actually pick them up. So they may just be still stranded out there to this day because he never, like, that boat could have been, like, just changing direction to go to shore.
It's so true. And then Brody just gets lost for the rest of the film.
The acting police chief should have stayed in that boat to run the boat. He's the only one that knows how to use it. And when Brody's talking on the radio to the helicopter guy, talking about like whatever that place is they're going to meet, the acting chief definitely would have known how to get there. And Chief Brody is like, I don't fucking know where that is.
Right.
But like the guy gives him all this stuff, like do this, go leeward, blah blah blah, and he's like, just point to where I need to go. Like that's how ocean navigation works.
Right.
Just point.
Actually, or just keep that guy in the boat with you.
And Jen, it's his fucking boat. He's the police chief.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
So now we've got underwater POV. And Doug's boat, Doug is the nerd guy. He's like doing some kind of like Churchill speech or something and trying to like pump his boat up real quick because it's like sinking and running out of water. And like,
I didn't even catch that.
Me either. I have no idea what you're talking about, although I'm 100% sure it happened. Yeah.
he's like he's pumping his boat up and he was like, yes, this is, we can never be afraid and we have to make sure we get our air in our boats. And I'm not doing it very well, but like it's probably some famous speech, but everybody's just kind of like staring at him and laughing. And it's one of those like half like this guy's an idiot and half like, oh, Dougie kind of thing.
One girl was like, that's Doug. He lives here all year. He's really skinny. He wears glasses. Fucking
Nobody
loser.
wants him. Yeah, they call him Captain Bligh. After that, he's like, "Way to go, Captain Bligh! What an asshole!"
Oh. Well, and so now, because he's trying to inflate this boat, but he doesn't have to worry about it anymore because Jaws just runs up and bonks the boat. And so it's kind of like Jaws chaos now. And he swims over and he gets pulled into a boat just in time. But now Jaws bonks Mike's boat and Mike gets hit in the head, which basically takes him out for the rest of the movie.
This scene really bothered me because Jaws like attacks one, maybe two boats, but literally every boat turns over. So like it's just like teens like are like, oh my God, and like the boat will like flip over. Like what
or they run into each other like a
just stay in
quiet
your goddamn boat. What are you doing?
They went to the lighthouse to play bumper boats.
That's a euphemism, right?
No, I'm not Googling that.
My bad.
Totally
yeah.
is.
Jen, Google bumper boats.
No.
But Jen, it's actually bump her boats. You gotta spell it correctly.
No.
Jen, they're doing water sports out there.
Anyway, so one of the boats capsizes. Everybody's like, it's boat chaos and everybody's
everyone's
in the water.
boat turns over, even though Jaws like casually nudged one.
Which is so ridiculous because they're in the open ocean. Like someone should have just turned right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so lady friend who was babysitting little brother, they end up on top of the capsized boat. Mike is in the water unconscious, but luckily he's wearing a life vest.
No one else in the whole group is wearing a life jacket.
He is nothing if not safety first.
Yeah, I mean, his dad is the
Yes.
police chief. Yeah. Or, excuse me, was the police chief. The nerds go over there and try and pick him up, and Jaws is coming, and they barely get him into the boat before Jaws gets him.
This is pretty cool, although looks fake. Jaws like grazes the side of the boat. Like, and this is the clearest picture I think we really get of him.
This is the paper mache version of Jaws, is what it looks like, as it grazes the boat.
You can still see newspapers and crap like going.
We're under attack by a pinata.
Quick, get my baseball bat. I bet the candy's delicious.
Oh, it's Tina's boyfriend came out.
But so they have one boat that can still sail. So that boat is going to take Mike back and then they're going to send help.
Yes.
And now Jackie is sad because Mike's gone and she is going to annoy me for the rest of the movie.
That's what she gets for not being in the same boat as it. Like, fuck her.
Yeah.
Wow, Mikey.
Yeah.
I've never heard someone come down so hard on the side of she deserved it than you just did.
She shamed Mike into going.
Yeah.
First off.
Yeah, she's the reason that Sean and Mike are there.
Yeah. And then doesn't even ride in the same boat as him after being so like mean to him at the bar.
Yeah.
I mean, no.
Here's the problem that I have with it is they're acting like Mike leaving and getting injured is this great tragedy for her. Like they've been dating for 5 years and she wasn't just going out with the mayor's son the day before. But like for the whole rest of the movie, she's like presented as this like traumatized person. And I'm not saying that she wouldn't be traumatized because obviously that's terrifying, but it's so out of proportion with everybody else. It's just so odd. And
I honestly
really
didn't get that she was like lost her shit because of Mike. I thought she lost her shit because I would have lost my shit in that
Right.
situation. Like if you're being attacked by a huge fucking great white shark, I would be screaming as high pitched and as loud as cousin with the bad hair.
No, she like stared at Mike lovingly as he sailed off, and she's like, "Oh, I'm such a terrible person."
There's a little bit of both of those things, but I think it just doesn't work partly because that actress isn't great and they just didn't really know how to do it.
As a Mike who has not been chosen by a lady who then stares off and kind of yells about it later, fuck her.
I think I have
She had her chance.
Oh my God.
I think I
that's funny.
have great experience being a rejected Mike.
Yeah.
And let me tell you.
Mike deserves someone who wanted in his boat the first time.
Yeah, that is
That's
fair.
true.
man.
I'm ginning all over this movie.
But the rest of this movie becomes what the ghost ship from Ghost Ship is. They're just like lazily listing in the ocean trying to hit the cable tie-off like island thing.
They tie up all the boats together. Did we talk about that?
They do.
So
Yeah.
it becomes Waterworld.
yeah.
Dry land exists.
Well, and then Brody gets to the lighthouse, but he can't get any signals on the radio. And then we're forgetting about something really important because now we have Seacopter. And
Yes.
he
Yes,
is
we do.
awesome.
Oh,
The most famous scene of the movie, probably.
Yeah, little brother of Flamecopter, Space Flamecopter, and
Stormcopter.
Stormcopter
Yeah,
now.
this is the
So,
fourth
yeah.
copter. Yeah, this is Sea
We're really
Copter.
expanding the copter family, and I
Yeah.
love it.
Honestly, the copter verse is getting very large. You're right.
It is, yeah. The copter connected universe.
The 70s version of Sea Copter is not great. No.
No,
It literally is the MASH helicopter with just pontoons on the bottom of it.
yeah.
It's a catamaran.
It's a copter Moran, Mikey.
My favorite part of the whole movie where he's like, "Yeah, I'll just pull y'all in." And I was like, how? Like, how does that work as a
Throw
helicopter?
me a line, I'll tow you. How does that work when you're a helicopter and they're in a boat?
He like immediately capsizes all of the boats and everybody
they
drowns.
all drown because he's pulled the thing going so fast.
The movie doesn't let him prove it
No.
because
No,
Yeah.
because Jaws literally, like, as he's taking off, bites one of the pontoons and then sinks the whole copter. I thought that was amazing.
I did too.
that's one of those things in movies where they're like, I'm going to do something that's completely impossible. Watch me. And then something happens where they don't have to prove it.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, see, that wasn't a ridiculous thing. He just got attacked before he
Yeah,
could
he
do
Exactly.
totally could have done it, guys. He totally could have done it. But Jaws was
Yeah.
like, hold my fin.
it. Yeah, exactly.
John's like, that helicopter pilot's going to kill all those teenagers.
Well, honestly, Mikey, he still almost does, even though Jaws sinks him, because as the blades hit the water, they like go and chop up all the sails. They
Yeah.
almost died.
One of the teenagers should have died from that, and the
That
movie
would've
would have
been
been better.
awesome.
I
Yeah.
think so too.
This is another one of those weird reaction scenes for me too. Like all the kids, they look disappointed that the helicopter has been like pulled under the water, but they're
Yeah.
not like freaking out or anything. They're just kind of like, well, shit, that kind of sucks.
Right. Except for the one girl who's like losing her fucking mind the whole
Oh,
time.
yeah. Jackie.
Oh yeah.
I hate the way a lot of them act because they're also on these broken boats that are like tied together, but they're like standing on roller skates too because they can't not fall into the water at the chance that a wave comes or like Jaws is like you see his fin in the distance and then someone slips and falls in. I want a montage of just like all of them falling with yakety sacks under it because it would be like it was that ridiculous.
Well, and so the next thing is the shark is back and he's spinning the boat underwater because there's a gigantic sail from the capsized boat that's just going really deep underwater.
Yeah.
But so he bumps the boats again, and they all, like we were saying, they like a bunch of them fall into the water, including the little brother. And this part made me really sad because the lady who had like given up her Saturday to hang with him tries to get him back.
Yeah, like she is a hero. She
She
did
is.
not fall in the water. She jumps in the water to help Sean, get Sean out, and then Jaws just swallows her whole.
I know.
Just gulped up. Just
Yeah.
swallowed whole like a hot dog.
Wait. Do you eat hot dogs whole? Like you just swallow hot dogs?
But like,
Yeah, I missed that.
she's pretty tall. I mean, she's like 5'5",
Yeah.
and he just gulps her down without any blood or biting. He was like, who's that guy from who did all those hot dogs?
You're like Joey Chestnut,
Yeah, those the Nathan's hot dog contest.
Kobayashi or Joey
Kobayashi.
Chestnut.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kobayashi.
Kobayashi.
He just Kobayashi'd her like right down.
Well,
Yeah.
she was already wet. The technique was he would dip them in water and then swallow them whole. And that is exactly
Yeah.
what happens because she's already wet.
Look at Jen.
There's a reason why you don't have close-ups in those things.
Oh my god. Yeah, like I don't like bread because I once ate a sandwich that had gotten wet.
yeah.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
so
It drives
gross.
me for life. So like those hot dogs,
Soggy
taste-
bread
oh my God,
They've
it's
got
so
like all these. They
disgusting.
got all this bun all over their face when they're eating it and everything.
Chris, keep going. I think Jen's gonna throw up. Please keep describing competitive eating.
I hear some people are into getting bun on their face when they're eating it.
Anyway,
Yeah, that's true. Buns and dogs in the face.
ew.
Google it.
Yeah, right. Google it.
Anyways, so now we keep coming back to Brody on the police boat.
It really is just him being lost. Like if Brody was a competent sailor,
Right.
that he could have been, because he's been on this island for fucking 4 years at least. So if he
That's
was a
right.
competent sailor and was a good chief of police, he would have known exactly where they were. He would have been to them probably 40 minutes before he was, and he would have saved all of these kids' lives. But he's
Yeah.
the reason that
Right.
that girl just got swallowed whole like a Nathan's hot dog.
She's the
He
last
is.
person who dies,
Yeah.
though, right?
I think so, yeah.
So Sean's like on top of this capsized boat, and he's terrified, and he doesn't want to let go of the fin on the bottom.
Oh,
which-
yeah. And then the other kids are like, Sean, you motherfucker. Look at me, you
Yeah.
stupid piece of shit. What the fuck is
Yeah.
wrong with you? And he's like a 5-year-old who's super traumatized because his babysitter just got swallowed whole.
I love
Yeah,
this scene.
that dude's like, I'll beat your ass if you
Yeah.
don't show up
He
over here.
literally says
basically.
that, Chris. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It's
Yeah,
insane.
because they start nice, and then the one guy's like,
Yeah.
"Listen, Sean, you little shit. You thought the shark was bad? I'm gonna fucking kill you.
and that's what worked.
Catch
Yeah.
the fucking
Oh.
rope." And it finally just like
Right.
turns around.
But I know, listen,
Yeah.
we are saying it wasn't the right thing to do, but who are we to judge? Because it
Yeah.
worked.
But what I do like is
did.
when they finally get to him, that big curly friend like hugs him and is like so sweet to him.
Yes.
So I do feel like
Yeah.
it kind of
Yeah.
helped Sean.
That kid even gives him a peck on the forehead
He
later
does.
on.
It is, and I do really like how they're so protective of this little kid. Too.
Yeah.
I think it's really
It
sweet.
really does feel like they're a small community of kids. Like they all know each other and they're all sort of friendly, even if they don't hang out every day.
Okay, so now we've learned that Cable Junction exists a little earlier.
Yes.
But what's its function?
Cable Junction.
Right?
What's your function? Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's basically just like where the cable. Now I've got to sing the whole song.
I know.
There's a cable so prominent at this Cable Junction that it becomes a plot point.
Exactly.
This is the reason why it's called Cable Junction, is because, oh, you got to see this dude's cable. It's huge, man.
That's the island where you go to tort cable.
Ooh, ew.
Wow. I love it. Oh my God.
Well, okay, so now they're trying to get to Cable Junction because this is like the last piece of land before just open ocean.
Yeah.
And so they're kind of trying to direct their sails to it. And this is when Jackie starts annoying some other people too, because they all, and it's like that scene in Airplane.
Yes, it's exactly like that.
Yeah, where she's like losing her mind, and like the mayor's son picks her up and is like shaking her. It's like, snap out of it. And then everybody starts fighting. And then some blonde girl who I just saw for the first time at this point
Yeah.
in the movie, she's like, shh, do you hear it? Do you hear it? And then nobody hears anything.
I know.
They say something to the effect of, it's Cable Junction, then what's after that?
They're
The Atlantic, and then what? And then Ireland.
Ireland, yeah.
And
Like, that's dark.
These
man.
kids don't know a
Yeah,
lot about
man.
geography, but they're close. They're
They don't.
close. They're in the same ballpark, right?
Right.
But so they're trying to steer towards Cable Junction. But they're afraid to paddle because that might attract the shark.
Yeah, well, and it does.
You know. And so they're getting really close and they're starting to redirect, but then that gigantic sail that's underwater because the boat capsized stops. So at least they're not going to like pass Cable Junction and like float out into the ocean.
Right, but they are now trapped in the ocean with
Exactly.
Jaws there, right? But this is when
Yeah,
Brody
yeah.
shows up, right, to save the day.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm going to throw a rope over, and she says they're stuck, and then there's the shark again. And then Brody's response to seeing the shark
Brody
is
the
to
worst.
Oh my God.
If he was boat competent, he would not have done this. He
Oh my God.
sees the shark, slams on the gas, and then hits Cable Junction with an amazing amount of force.
I know, like trashing the only functioning boat right
Yes.
now.
Yeah.
So now Brody has no functioning boats and has screwed everything up, although he's still pretty hot. So he's
This is the most I've ever heard anybody talk about Roy Scheider being a sex symbol
I mean-
in my life.
Jen calls him like she sees him now.
I do, man.
No, I've always seen him and like, that guy's a pretty good looking dude, but I've never heard anybody go, yeah, marry me. You know?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the boat he doesn't know how to use.
Maybe so. Maybe
Yeah, I
it's
hear
so.
women love a man who doesn't know how to use his boat.
Yeah, I'll teach him how to sail.
I can fix
Yeah.
him. That's
Oh,
what
yeah.
it is.
That's right.
Maybe. Really, honestly, I think it's the tan. All right, so, but there's, the shark is around again, too. And so now he's got that dragger thing.
Yeah, he's got like the hooks that they were dragging before, and he ties off the rope and throws the other end of the rope to the kids and says, pull in the hooks and then hook
Right.
them to your boat, and I'll use the winch to pull you over, which is actually a great idea, right?
Yeah.
But it sinks to the bottom, and then they get it stuck on a cable. And so
The cable.
Yeah,
We
the
said
cable.
this thing is a girthy cable,
Oh.
man. It's it is so huge.
It is Cable Junction, okay?
Yeah.
You faint at the size of this cable.
Like, how many cables are going into Cable Junction? Like, how many cables are really out
Probably
there?
a lot, Mikey. It is Cable Junction.
Yeah.
Just the one, man. No, he doesn't need multiple cables. He's only got one.
He's a one cable kind of guy.
So let's not focus on the fact that why would there be a Cable Junction after the island on the way to the Atlantic? The
That's
Cable
my
Junction
question is.
should be in between
Yeah,
the mainland
exactly.
and the island. Let's not talk
That's what I'm
about
saying.
that.
It's
Let's move
completely
past it.
fucking made
Yeah.
up.
This is where Ireland gets its power.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. We got to put our power all the way out back
It's
here,
ridiculous.
because of those terrible teens are always fucking with our
Oh, yeah.
transformers.
But
you
anyway,
know.
but Brody does wrench up the cable, right?
Yeah.
And then because the cable is now sort of on the way out to the kids, he's like, I'm just going to American Ninja Warrior my way out to the kids. And he climbs on top of it with a rubber boat underneath him that he can sort of like rest in on his way out.
Well, but before that happens, the shark realizes that he could have just eaten through the fabric of all of these boats the whole time
yeah.
because they're like basically put together with popsicles. So a bunch of them like get.
Yeah. So, I'm sorry. Yeah.
So they get like their boats all get fucked up again. A bunch of them fall in the water. Some of them swim to
course.
Cable Junction.
Yeah, and they
this
make
is when
it. They
the
make it.
blonde girl gets like sideswiped. And I was like, are their gills really sharp or something? I couldn't figure it out.
I thought she got bit until she came out of the water and I was like, oh no, she's fine.
That's a scientifically accurate thing that happens.
Is it?
Shark skin's really, really tough.
Okay.
Interesting.
It's a weird choice since it's a killer shark. Why didn't it just eat her? But
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not time yet. It's not her time.
I just like the two guys who swam to the junction. They're like, whew, well, we're alive.
I know.
Yeah, good luck, everybody. We're gone. Bye.
Because Sean and Jackie are still in the boat.
Yes.
And I wish it was just Sean. I wish Jackie wasn't there because she's just like, this is
Yeah,
what I.
she's such an attention hog, Jen. I get it, man. You're like,
No,
come
Yeah.
on, cousin with the bad hair.
She is.
This is where I think they're trying to kind of shoehorn in this final girl dynamic. Although
Yeah.
that wasn't really a thing. Well,
No,
I guess
I
it
don't-
kind of was.
But I don't think they're trying to do it. It just sort of feels
Yeah.
like they have the most two vulnerable people. A woman
Right.
who doesn't have a man because Mike left or whatever.
Uh-huh.
I don't like it, but I
Right.
think that's what they're doing. Yeah.
I do too. And I think it, like, if it had just been Sean, I think it would have worked a lot
I think it would have been
better,
great
you
too.
know?
Yeah.
But yeah, this is when Brody hatches his plan and he's got the cord way out of the water.
Well, because the boat winched it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, he shimmies across the cable.
But
Yeah.
he gets to a point where he's like really close to the water now. And
He is, yeah.
realizes that, or maybe he just remembers that they're drawn to sound. The sharks are drawn to
Mm-hmm.
sound. So he gets the world's smallest paddle and starts
Right.
like smashing the cable and it's making the sound, right? And then the shark stops attacking the boats and then starts
Yeah.
swimming closer to him. And that's where you get like the back and forth for like 5 minutes of the shark coming at Brody
Yeah.
and Brody looking at the shark like, come on, you son of a
It takes
bitch.
forever.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
it does. And he's like pushing the cable down as far as he can. So when the Jaws
Yeah.
comes to get him, he's going to shove it in his mouth. And that's what happens. Like Jaws
Right.
comes at him, bites the cable, and then lets go.
He says bon appetit.
Oh my
Does he say
God.
that?
Does he say that?
He says some ridiculous one-liner before.
He says Jaws appetit.
Yeah.
Jaws
Yeah.
appetit. So he like you can see everybody sitting on the rocks and then the fin is swimming through and I think that's really cool. But then they're like, he's heading right for you. And he says,
Yeah.
I got something for you now.
Yeah, there's so
And
much of
so-
that back and
yeah.
forth. Yeah.
Yeah, it does go on a little long. But so then he comes up and like Jaws eats the wire and Brody apparently with reflexes like, like a cat, like jumps back into the boat. So he's safe, but Jaws, like inches from him,
Brody
is
should be dead because
Yeah.
Jaws also
Yeah.
explodes.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
should be dead and like skipping across the water as the electrical current pushes him away. Like it's like that is so much voltage. He would have been shot across the water.
yeah, like Jurassic Park style.
Oh yeah.
But so Jaws is getting electrocuted, and it's really cool. Like, cause there's like fire in his mouth, and he's like frying.
Yeah, the
you know,
paper
and
mache head of Jaws is literally burning.
Yeah.
And then he goes underwater, and then everybody's happy. Jackie's crying. Brody paddles out and gives Jackie his jacket.
Good thing she's the only one that's in shock.
Yeah.
then, because
Exactly.
There's only
Screw
so many
Sean.
jackets to pass around.
Captain Brody's blood son is like in shock too, and he's like, "Fuck you, Sean."
Right.
And Sean's like, "But they made me come with them."
I do like that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was
Well,
sweet.
especially because of his reaction, Roy Scheider's reaction, where he's like, "Yeah, sure, you know,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get mad at you because you nearly died, and it's probably my fault."
Right.
Yeah.
and that's the movie. Yeah, because it like
Yeah.
freeze frames.
Yeah.
Roll the credits. There's a climax, but there's no resolution. This is a weird way to end the movie.
It is because Brody's still fired. They're still
Yeah.
stranded at Cable Junction. There's no resolution to a bunch of like plot holes in this movie.
They do just kind of like, well, that's it. Shark's electrocuted. Let's go.
So having seen the movie, having talked about the movie, let's do some final thoughts. What did you guys think watching it whenever you watched it?
So I hated this movie. I'm going to be interested to hear what Jen says that justifies liking it. I don't think I was generally like comparing it to the first one, although that is something that you do.
Yeah.
I was sitting there going, man, the first one has all these like cool little nifty scenes, and this one is just like, fuck you, here's the shark, and it's going to attack things, and we're not going to do anything special with it at all. And it just feels like exactly the kind of cash grab sequel that you make today, where you're just like, oh, you like that shark, did you? Well, we're going to give you tons of shark in this, and not give you any of the other stuff that made the first Jaws really good. That's one of the biggest things that I always rail against when people make a copycat or a sequel of something that was popular. They take the bare elements of what was good in the first one and give you more of that, instead of giving you like we were talking about throughout this whole thing, where you have a conversation with him and Dreyfus. I know they couldn't get Dreyfus. They could have had Lady Shark knowledge person. They could have had her.
Or Ellen.
You know,
Ellen was
Or
great.
Ellen.
They could have shown their relationship more.
there's a number of like nice conversations they had and everything they could have had. And it's weird, like it seems like it's eager to want to be this action movie, but at the same time, there's a lot of like suspenseful scenes that just go on way too long. There's too many montages and everything. It feels like whoever writes these movies are people who are really, really pissed off at people who get to go on vacations. Every time you see people like having the most fun, that's when the shark attacks.
Yeah.
It's always like it's no surprise who's going to get attacked in a shark movie, but they're always the person having the most fun possible. And that's when the shark attacks. And this goes a long way to what you're saying, Jen, about the slasher movies, how conservative they are a lot of times. But it's like every time somebody's having that awesome time, it's like the writer's like, fuck you, man. I never got to go to no beach. Fuck you. You know.
Yeah, I don't have a sailboat.
Exactly. So yeah, I hated this. I just felt like there was a lot of stuff that they were just kind of glossing over throughout this whole thing.
Yeah.
And I really needed more for me to be invested in it. And once I'm not invested in it, it doesn't matter how good any kind of technical thing is after that. It doesn't matter.
And I really love it, and I liked it as much as I think I remember liking it. And part of it, I think, is because I grew up watching it and I've seen it a lot. So there's definitely the nostalgia element to me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like that's what keeps me invested in it, you know. And I like the teenagers, you know. It's pretty stereotypical, but I don't know. I kind of like how they interact with each other, and I think it's interesting because it reminds me a lot of the Stephen King teenagers that I think I read in a lot of books. You know, you know, I really like sharks and like all the shark stuff you were talking about. I was like, yeah, that's cool. I do know that I recognize that there's a lot they could have done to make this a better movie, but I think the things that I like about it, I really like.
I'm gonna have to go ahead and agree with Chris on this. It's fun to make fun of, but I kind of hate it. One, Roy Schneider in Jaws is amazing. and they waste him in the sequel. And then there's just no suspense. I'm not invested. I'm not even invested in Roy Schneider, who I love in the first movie.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hate it. It was like, I don't know. I was scared watching the first one. I wasn't really scared watching this one because like Mikey and you guys were talking about how it's not really suspenseful. I felt like it was silly. And Mikey, you've been talking about how the third one is just bonkers, silly, and fun. So I can sort of see it going that way. I'm sure it's not as crazy and funny as it's going to be. But I felt like this one was more silly and more funny than the first one was by far.
Yeah.
And I just don't think it's a great movie. It's really slow paced, but a lot of 70s movies are almost unwatchable now because we're so spoiled because people actually know how to make a fast paced, good movie now. But I feel like it suffers from a lot of that kind of stuff. I think anyone could watch this, even as a horror virgin. It's not that scary. I think it would be a lot more fun to watch with friends because you could just sort of make fun of, cousin with the bad hair and, paper mache jaws and stuff. But it's just not that scary. But let's talk box office.
Box office.
So what do you guys think it cost to make this movie in probably 77? It came out in 78. So I'm assuming they made it over the course of 77.
I will refrain from answering because I do know.
Okay.
I will too.
Oh,
yeah.
Mikey, all right. You're the only one who gets the guess, Mikey. What do you think? It cost $20 million to make.
Really?
Yeah.
In 1978?
Yeah, it was a very expensive movie. In its first week out, it came out June 16th, 1978. And its first week out, I could only find 2 movies that were in theaters at this time. And it was Jaws 2 and Grease.
Mm-hmm.
I think they
came out the same day.
Yeah, I think they both premiered the same day. Grease was in 220 more theaters, and Jaws 2 still beat it. Jaws 2 almost had $10 million its first weekend. It had 9,866,000, and Grease came in second with almost $9 million.
Both good movies.
What do you think it made over the course of its domestic run in theaters?
90 million.
45.
Chris, do you have a guess?
I know the answer.
Oh,
so.
okay.
Yeah.
Chris is a better podcaster than us. He researched this whole film before he came
Well, I
on.
researched my dick off, guys. So I know all this shit.
Believe me, I do too when I'm single. So it made $102,922,376 in its domestic run.
Nice.
In its international run, it made another $105 million, putting the total at almost $209 million worldwide.
Yeah, which is astounding if you extrapolate for inflation and everything.
Yeah, that's an insane number.
It was the highest grossing sequel until Rocky 2 came out the next year. And, when you first see the amount, you're like, that's kind of, you don't think about 1978. You just kind of, that's all right.
Yeah.
It made an okay amount, but that's insane amount of money.
If you adjust for inflation, it's $825 million.
Wow.
That's insane.
Nice.
That's like Avengers money.
Yeah.
The Shark Vengers. All right, Jen, you got some fun facts for us?
I do,
Hit
but
us
I want
with
to
your
say I
fun
would
facts.
watch Shark Vengers.
Me too.
So this was directed by Jenn Zwark.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know how to
had no
say his
idea.
name.
Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah. But okay, so I was talking about how the production was pretty troubled. The original director was, no shit, John D. Hancock.
Really?
And,
John Hancock
yeah,
directed this movie?
He
That's
did,
right.
John D. Hancock.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Did you not notice the lack of a huge signature with this movie?
Nice. But yeah, they ended up I'm going to post a lot more information about this because, Chris, you might know more about this, but they ended up firing him because he just kind of didn't really have enough experience to take on this kind of movie. Was the long and short of what I got, because they were in Martha's Vineyard for 18 months trying to shoot this. It wasn't really going anywhere. They were having a lot of problems with it.
Yeah, there were a lot of problems with the first one.
He fired a girl off the set who turned out to be one of the studio brass's girlfriends. And he didn't know. That was one part of it, he said. There was another that I can't remember, but I thought that was interesting. He's like, we get the fuck off the set, and then he finds out later, that's one of my boss's girlfriends.
Right. Which, if you were making progress on your movie, probably wouldn't have been that big of a deal, but it was like they were stuck.
It could easily have been the straw that broke the camel's back, though. Yeah.
Right, yeah. So they fired him, and then, because they had originally asked Spielberg to do it, and he had given a quote in 1979 saying, making a sequel to anything is just a cheap carny trick. And apparently,
You can see how he changed that philosophy.
Mm-hmm. Maybe when he saw how much Jaws made. But
Yeah.
like, apparently he didn't even respond the first time they asked him to direct this. And that's partly because like famously he had a terrible time directing the first
the
Jaws.
first one was
'cause it's
difficult
just-
for him. Yeah.
Right,
Well,
right.
Also,
So-
he got uber famous from. I mean, Spielberg's blowing up right now, so I mean, like he probably was like, I'm not gonna do.
Well, and
something
at this point, like, and he's making Close Encounters. I think he makes Close Encounters, and it comes out during the time this is getting filmed.
Yeah.
So like he is definitely like a mega star director at this point.
Well, and so after they fired that first director, he considered coming back and he wrote this idea for a movie, but he was still contractually obligated to work on Close Encounters, and they weren't going to be able to start filming again for a year, and they didn't want to wait that long.
Right.
But, well, the original idea he had was going to be a prequel based on the story Quint tells about the USS Indianapolis.
Which is a movie they need to make.
I think they made that movie with Nick Cage, right?
I think there's some adaptation of it, and it's an actor that I know. Okay, so and so they ended up hiring this guy, Jeannot Swark. I really hope I'm saying
Jeannot
Swark.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just call it Shark. Yeah. And so apparently he and Roy Schneider did not get along at all, and actually almost got into a fist fight at one point.
Oh, Jesus.
And they had to like write letters to each other apologizing or something.
Oh, my God.
I know. It was like the producers had to break the fight up or something. He was apparently mad that the director was spending a lot more time on the extras and like the kid actors than him or something.
Do you forgive me? Circle yes or no.
Check yes or no, yeah. But also, like, Roy Schneider really did not want to do this movie. And so, but he had just quit the role of Michael Vronsky in Deer Hunter. And it was like 2 weeks before this, but he had a contract with Universal. And so in order to get out of being in Deer Hunter, he had to be in this. And so he really didn't want to be there, but they gave him a ton of money. Like, I think I read that it like quadrupled what he made for the first
it was
one.
400,000 compared to the 100 that he got for the first one.
Jeez.
Right. Yeah, so that was part of it. And I read at one point that he even tried to like fake having like a mental breakdown to try to get out of the movie.
He tried to Colonel Clinton his way out of there. Like, he shows up a set wearing a dress, holding a rifle. Like,
Yeah, and I don't know how verified that is or if that's just kind of a story. But I do think it's interesting. Like, I don't think you can tell in the movie that he hates it. You know, I still think he's
his performance
great
is
in
fine.
it.
Yeah.
This is one of the most famous taglines in like cinematic history. It's just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water, which I
Yeah.
actually thought was what the tagline for the first movie was. And I was reading that and I was like, oh, I guess it was from the sequel.
Yeah. And it makes more sense that it would be from the sequel, but it is like the tagline about Jaws you remember.
Right, exactly. Yeah. They started in Martha's Vineyard and they used some extras there, but after like 18 months, they got so annoyed and some people started wearing like Universal Go Home shirts. And so when the new director took over, they moved the shooting down to Navarre Beach in Florida. And so that's where they shot the rest of it. At one point, the kids were on the boats and they were like screaming for help. And it was because real hammerheads were circling their boat.
What?
But from a distance, the crew just thought they were acting.
Oh, my God.
I know. Yeah, everybody was fine.
So
but,
when that guy grabbed Sean and was hugging him, like it was just them reacting
for
to
real.
that. Yeah. Oh, Jesus. Okay.
So they finished filming right before Christmas, and because it was cold, they had to put ice cubes in their mouths so that their breath wouldn't show when they were speaking their dialogue.
Interesting.
So that was
Wow,
amazing.
okay.
Yeah.
That probably also didn't help them with their performances.
Yeah.
Probably not, right? So they didn't budget this movie because the studio never would have said okay for that big of a budget then, because they estimated it was costing like $80,000 a day to shoot.
Jesus.
And it was like a long shoot too. But they said
Yeah, you said 18 months or something like that?
that was for the first part of it.
Jeez.
But they said they were spending the profit from Jaws and that it'll take what it takes. So they just
Yep.
went
There you
for
go.
it.
Well, I mean, they ended up making another $200 million after that.
Yeah,
so.
Right,
so-
exactly. Yeah. Okay, so they used extras from a high school called Gulf Breeze High School in Florida. So that scene at the pool party, those are like actual student musicians from their high school band.
Oh.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah.
So this is my last fun fact, and it's really obscure, but I thought it was hilarious just because I took French. Okay, so the French title of this movie, did you see this, Chris?
Yeah, I did.
Is it Les
Okay, so-
Incompetents?
No.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Les Incompetents. I do like saying that there.
I know you do.
Okay, so the French title of Jaws is Les Dents de la Mer, which is translated into the teeth of the sea. So
Okay.
to call it Les Dents de la Mer 2, which is is two, that sounds like the word merde.
Which
Les
is
Dents de
shit.
la Merde, which is shit.
Yeah.
So they couldn't call it that. So they called it Les Dents de la Mer deuxième partie, which is part 2. I thought it was funny. So they didn't call it Jaws
That's funny.
shit.
Yeah, they wouldn't want to call it the shit of the sea or whatever that,
Exactly.
that works out to be. So that's probably for the
Welcome to my
best. Jen.
seafood restaurant. Shit of the sea.
I thought it was a funny little detail. And those are my fun facts.
Well, thank you for your fun facts, Jen. So let's do that scary scale, Jen.
Hey, listeners, our scary scale is a scale we use to rank how scary we thought the movie was. It's not the quality of the movie, it's how scared we were when we watched it today. Our 1 example is Ghostbusters, our 10 example is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. All right, Chris, what are you going to rank this one?
Oh, this is probably like a 3.
Wow.
It's not
Nice.
scary at all, really. There are a lot of deaths, but there's not a lot of like, oh my god. There's like a maybe the one scene where dude's in the kite or whatever, and he keeps dipping
that
down
got
in
me
the
too.
water.
Mhm.
and
Okay,
stuff.
I'll give it to you.
Yeah,
So-
I'm going to give it a 2 because the kite scene was scary, and then when Sean went in the water, I was like, oh, fuck. I didn't care about any of the other kids.
All right, Mikey.
I'm gonna give it a 2.
That's
All right.
surprising coming from you.
The scene where they're bobbing in the water is scary.
Yeah.
And then the Sean and Mike stuff was scary. The stakes were real for those. I thought Mike might get killed when he was in the life jacket. I mean, it was good. It's not super scary, but
I think I'm going to give it a 2 as well.
Wow, did I like give it more credit than you guys did?
You did just
I thought
barely.
I thought I was lowballing it, and you guys are like, no, fuck that. It's a 2.
this is a trap we set for you, Chris. It's like, everybody, look how dumb Chris is for giving it a 3.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way I feel about it. You fucking sandbagging motherfuckers.
Oh, shit, that's funny. So this week, you guys made me watch Jaws 2. What are you guys making me watch next week?
I discussed it with Jen, but I have forgotten.
Hey, I know what you did last summer because that's what we're watching.
Oh, my God. Okay.
Yeah, next week we are watching I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Okay.
And I'm so excited because I love this movie.
That's another one of those like late 90s, early 2000s slasher movies, right?
Yes, it
yes.
is.
Yep.
It's fantastic.
Okay.
I saw it in the theaters.
Yeah.
Opening night, I was there.
So, guys, watch I Know What You Did Last Summer for our
Yeah.
next episode that starts right after summer starts.
Right. I think these two are kind of like surrounding the 4th of July, and they
Yeah.
both kind of have 4th of July elements to it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
So-
guys, check out that one if you haven't seen it already, which
Yeah.
you probably have. So, Mikey, do you have a review for us to read?
I don't.
Well, while you look one up, let me tell people how they can leave a review for you to read. And that is simply to go to Apple iTunes and leave us a 5-star text review and give Mikey something to read. So actually like type in some text there and then we can have Mikey read it on the show.
Koopman 1990 says, nailed it.
Nice.
This podcast has definitely nailed it. Heard a commercial for it on iHeartRadio,
Oh,
so I checked it
really?
out, and now I'm hooked.
Wow.
Keep doing what you're doing. 5 stars.
Well, thank you so much,
Nice.
Koopman
Nice.
9090. I didn't even know we had an ad on iHeartRadio, so
I know.
I don't know where that came from, but thank you so much for like doing what it told you and listening to the podcast.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And we need to.
They just auto-generate ads on iHeartRadio.
I don't know
We're
how,
just
but-
like, oh, here's a podcast we like, and boom, here's an ad.
Some intern at iHeartRadio is a fan and just snuck us in.
Hey, thanks, intern.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, thank you for writing that review. That was
Absolutely. We
awesome.
really, really appreciate those reviews. And guys, make
Yeah.
sure you
Yes,
leave your
so
5-star
kind.
reviews so we can read it on the podcast. We're a member of the Consequence Podcast Network. So, guys, make sure you check out their other great podcasts like Losers Club and Halloweenies and This Must Be the Gig and Kyle Meredith With and The Fifth Dimension, The Opus, The Assembly. Guys, check them out. They're great.
All those great
also,
ones.
check out the Consequence of Sound website. There's a lot of great pop culture and movie articles there, so it's great. If you want to check out our
Yeah.
shit, please do by going to horrorvirgin.com for our blog and merch store. If you want to check out us online, go to @horrorvirgin pretty much on all the socials. If you want to follow us all individually, we are at Jenn is at Jenn Ferratu. Mikey is at mrandolph24 and I am at Todd J Awesome. If you want to help financially support the show, please do by going to patreon.com/horrorvirgin. We got a lot of great levels and a lot of great things like, listener requests and exclusive video content, bonus episodes, all that great Awesome shit. So guys, if you want to do that, please do. If you can't or don't want to financially support the show, but you still want your daily free content, check out our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/horrorvirgin, or we link it on social pretty much every week. So check it out there and join the awesome, very quickly growing community. We're like closing in on 1,000 members. It's super crazy. I know. I cannot believe
I can't believe it.
Yeah, we're getting pretty close.
Are we
It's
really?
insane. Yeah, we're like at 870 members right now. It's insane. Anyway, so guys, check out the group.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's a lot of fun. So, Chris, thank you so much for joining us on the Jaws 2
Yes.
episode. It was
It's such a
amazing
fun
to have
time.
you.
Thank you guys for having
Absolutely.
me.
This was
It's
awesome.
fun talking about a movie that I don't get to talk about very
Because
often.
you guys pretty much stick to good movies, right?
Oh, hot take.
Yeah. I mean, it's all over, but like our podcast, a lot of times, we will pick, an era or a country or something like that, and we seem to run across some of the same ones. And I do love it when we get to ones that we don't get to talk about very often and everything. And so stuff like this, where Jaws 2, you get to really go in depth into a movie that like nobody ever goes in depth on. I love it. We are Sincast presented by CinemaSins. We're a CinemaSins is a YouTube channel that fuck starts movies for a living. We're just like real dickheads about movies and everything on that. The Sincast is a completely different animal. We you get to hear our like real quote unquote opinions about movies on that. We have a million other things: TV sins, music video sins. Jonathan, who's been on this podcast a few times, he's on Behind the Sins. This is another podcast that we have. Every day is a never-ending storm of reviews of scripts and videos and things of that nature. We have a lot of things, and you can pick a lane on us. You can either like all of our stuff or just a couple of our things. It doesn't really matter.
But there was a lot to choose from in the expanded Sins universe.
Yes, there is.
Well, thanks so much for coming on.
Absolutely.
Yes, it was awesome.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, we'll come back.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you need a guest, give me another list.
Yeah.
I'll pick from it.
We will definitely do that.
Awesome. All right. So thank you so much for joining us, Chris, and listeners, thank you for joining us. That's going to be it for us this week. I hope you have a safe and wonderful 4th of July. I'm Jen.
I'm Mikey.
And I'm your horror virgin Todd, guys.
Have a great week.
Bye.
Chris, I didn't mean anything personal by it. I just meant I knew where you lived, and that was in a creepy way.
Oh, yeah. No, I think...
He knows we know where he lives. We've been to his house.
Yeah.
But I can walk there.
Consequence Podcast Network.